Rolling, everyone. It starts with a bass.
Hello.
Hello, welcome to John's Jam Sessions with me, John, and I am with Tom. He has returned.
Hello.
Hi, Tom. How are you doing?
I'm
It's been a
cool, man.
while, hasn't it?
It's been a while, yeah. The last one, what was the last?
Guilty pleasures.
Guilty Pleasures, yeah. Enjoyed that one.
I've been mega focused on one band in particular. We've dedicated pretty much 3 weeks to it, and now we're going to megally focus on another band.
Yeah.
The Red Hot Chili Peppers.
One of our all-time favourites, isn't it, John?
100%, definitely. So I think a good way to start this would be simply asking you, like, what's your background with the Chili Peppers? Like, when did you first hear their music? Then when did going from hearing their music into becoming a hardcore fan really, like, begin?
Okay, so I always remember, like, my first kind of exposure to the Chili Peppers. For reference, I was born in 1991.
Yeah.
So I was born about a month before Blood Sugar Sex Magic came out. So I was far too young to hear that in its prime. My first memories of the Chili Peppers, I think, were on like the music channels on like Kerrang and stuff, and like Californication, I think, had just come out. I remember really liking what I heard, but didn't know much more about them. I remember at the time, I think, Love Roller Coaster from like Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah.
That was doing the
That's a
rounds
jam,
as well. It's a
Yeah.
jam, man. And I remember specifically as well, when I'd go round to my dad's house, my dad used to play One Hot Minute on, I think he had it on cassette. And I remember he used to play that and used to jam along to it, and I used to enjoy that.
That's an interesting one to be like exposed to, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
early on.
kind of remember, like, I remember songs like that, like P. And I didn't really remember like the bangers from it, but it was just like just exposure to what the Chili sounded like. And then obviously as the years went on, sort of getting into music and things like that. Like I think when I was about 10 or 11, I got Californication on CD.
Yeah.
And thoroughly loved it. Obviously, by that point, I knew the hits from By the Way that had come out, and then when Stadium Arcadium came out, that was when the downloads had kind of hit it started coming into the mainstream.
Yeah, iTunes and
I think it was the year Stadium came out, so it was just after Stadium came out in 2007. I hit the entire Chili Peppers back catalogue, and it was at that point I was like, shit, because I was a bass player at that point. And it made me go, wow, I really want to be a good bass player, because I was listening to Flea's stuff and I was like, Jesus, this stuff's so complicated. And then obviously the more adept you get at your instrument, you start appreciating it in different ways and going, oh, I can play it now. But then it's like the writing side of it, and he's got a great tone and a great energy. It went from that really. So 2007, so I was about 16, later teens, really appreciated it, really enjoyed it. And from Stadium, I have got every album on release in physical media form. And they've always been one of my favourites.
Quite surprised, actually, because I think we both followed similar paths. I think I got on them slightly later, but same thing. I remember before like school in the mornings, I'd always put on the music channels, and I put on like Kerrang and MTV2, which was like a more rock one. And I remember just always like constant exposure to the music videos to By the Way. Is it Universally Speaking?
Yeah, I remember that. The video
Can't Stop, of course, and Californication, and them songs were guaranteed to be played like every morning. So them songs were like jammed in my head, and I was like, well, I know the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I quite enjoy these songs, but it wasn't until Stadium Arcadium came out that I really started getting into them, because I remember we were going on like a family holiday to Cornwall. Cornwall from where we live is like at least a 6 to 7 hour drive.
It's a full day.
Yeah, we picked up some CDs, and we picked up from the shop Stadium Arcadium, like freshly released, and the greatest hits. And that was like the soundtrack of our like trip away. So I just heard Stadium Arcadium over and over and over, and I was like, this is great, So as soon as I got home,
and to be fair, Stadium Arcadium, like it's not a short venture, is it? It's about 2.5 hours long. In total, something like that.
It really did help on them long drives, to be fair. So when I got home, that's it. I started if I go out CD shopping, eventually I picked up By the Way, I picked up Californication, and I kind of stayed in them lanes, kind of just in the safe kind of period. I didn't really like branch out to One Hot Minute or anything before that, or Blood Sugar. And I don't think it was until me and you got into college, and it was kind of your, you kind of said, get onto if you like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, get onto these albums. And I think with the kind of anticipation of a new album on the horizon, this was around 2010, we knew stuff was getting worked on. That's when I really started like getting into them and listening to everything, and really getting excited for this new release.
Yeah.
Yeah, should have said it at the top of the episode that this episode and what this is all about is we're kind of focusing on the Josh era as it's kind of been dubbed. So we're talking 2011 through to about, I think the last album was 2016, but I think he stayed in the band until at least 2019, didn't he?
So it's interesting that obviously you sort of stated that Josh started in like the 2011. I think I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Was that released in 2010? Was it 2010, 2011?
2011.
But Josh was obviously, for those that know, sorry, not so obviously, he was a touring musician for them during the Stadium Arcadium tour. So he was their backing guitarist, their backing percussion as well. I remember doing a bit of research into Josh around the 2010 time once I found out that
when the news broke up
that he was a part of the band and John wasn't, and I was listening to his Dot Hacker solo work, and I was really intrigued by it, and I thought it like very alternative, and I really enjoyed it. But I thought, how the hell does this style and the stuff that he's doing transfer into the Chili's? Just to get onto John Frusciante as well. John Frusciante, I think is probably my all-time favourite musician of all time as a solo artist.
Same here as well.
His entire back catalogue, for anyone that hasn't, I implore you to at least give it a go. Some of it's accessible, some of it's not very accessible.
We will be getting into that in future episodes, I'm sure.
But it's the first time I ever heard Josh was through John Frusciante's solo records.
Yeah.
And I actually thought Josh was a female at first, because he's got very feminine soft vocals, and it threw me to find out it was actually a guy.
Yeah, because John does that as well, doesn't he? He does like the BG, like the high,
the falsetto, falsetto singing. But Josh sort of has with John, his tone is obviously, you can tell it's a male deeper voice that's doing the high vocals. With Josh, it was a bit more, or not as transparent. So I was quite shocked. But then you listen to Josh's other stuff, and Josh
was like Josh was like the Obi-Wan Kenobi to John Frusciante's Qui-Gon Jinn, wasn't he? If there's one way to kind of put it.
Yeah.
They were partners, but they were also kind of like a mentor.
Josh was a lot younger. I think Josh was at least like 10 years his junior.
So unlike with 1 Hot Minute, and we're going to do a really brief chronologic like run up to the point we're talking about now, but with like 1 Hot Minute, where they kind of got someone completely from the outside, and it really did change a lot in the band. I think this time they wanted to be a bit smarter about it, and they knew that they had such an established, well-known, loved sound at this point. So I think Josh was probably the best choice to kind of pick. He'd worked with the band. He knew the band members. He's worked very closely with John. If there's anyone who's going to try and be able to do John's music live anyway, it's going to be him, isn't it?
He was the safe option, I think, wasn't he? He was very much in to put it in sporting terms. If it was a manager that has left, it's like, okay, so the football manager's gone, so we're instead going to promote the first team coach up. Yeah. And he was basically the touring musician that got a promotion to full-time band member. Yeah. Is how it worked, and it makes sense. On paper, makes total sense.
And I feel it was well too late in the day to really start changing things too much.
Yeah.
It's kind of late in their careers now, isn't it? So it's a bit harder to kind of completely reinvent the wheel. But super brief chronologic run up to this album.
Sorry, just to jump in, John.
Yeah.
I think obviously jump in, John. I think to compare it to like 1 Hot Minute, obviously they got Dave Navarro from Jane's Addiction in. And with that, prior to getting Dave Navarro in, they had one massive album with Blood Sugar Sex Magic. Mm. Prior to that, they had successful albums, but they weren't what you consider like a critical commercial success. Blood Sugar Sex Magic was the only real big hitter that was like, wow, these guys are in the mainstream rock market now. Yeah. So they could have afforded a little bit more at that point to go, right, we're going to get someone in. Mm-hmm. Obviously, by the time Josh comes in, they've had Californication, By the Way, Stadium Arcadium, 3 albums that are blockbuster.
Absolutely, yeah.
Alternative rock albums.
Yeah.
So they had to keep it safe.
Super quick. So formed in the early 80s?
83, I think.
Funk rock band, LA. Very kind of unique, kind of interesting style. They do 1, 2, 3. Three albums under this kind of period in
like
the 80s.
a punk funk.
Yeah, I don't really with them albums is they're fundamental and they're the starting ground of the band. But for me, the band becomes the Red Hot Chili Peppers with Mother's Milk. With
Rome wasn't built in a day, was it?
Yeah. I think when the lineup became solidified as John, Anthony, Flea, and Shad, like they are the Red Hot Chili Peppers to me.
And it took till album number 4 for them to get to that stage, and like loss of guitarists and drummers, and a lot happened, which you could make an entire episode on.
So 88 is it? Mother's Milk.
Yeah.
Off the Ground Running. 1991 is the groundbreaking Blood Sugar Sex Magic, which I think changes the band forever.
Yeah,
I think the 1 Hot Minute, and we can get into that on another episode, I think, but I think 1 Hot Minute for me was a bit of a circuit breaker and a bit of a momentum breaker. John Frusciante leaves, and this becomes a reoccurring issue with the band. So
it's almost become a bit of a meme, hasn't it?
John Frusciante leaves. He goes down quite a dark path, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Again, we will touch on these.
Fantastic solo work.
1 Hot Minute, as we've just spoken about, and then John returns, and he returns on absolute form, and they bring out, as you say, Californication. By the way, Stadium Arcadium, a trilogy, a trinity of just absolute. These are the albums that define the band for me. For some people, it's kind of what put them off the band because they preferred them when they were a bit more of a underground and a bit more. This got them into like the mainstream. This kind of got them almost into the genre of pop. You know, everyone knew the Red Hot Chili Peppers were in the 2000s. As I say, you couldn't avoid hearing the singles from them albums anywhere you went. Supermarkets, anywhere.
Everyone knows at least one Red Hot Chili Peppers song. And I feel like, again, it's a lot of like the sort of purist gatekeeping fans would say, "Oh, the Chili Peppers sold out," and it's like, you could say that, but my way of thinking of it again is that I just think their style of music got popular.
Yeah,
I don't think they changed to conform. I think they changed because they wanted to change what style they were doing. They wanted a more mellow sound. You could delve for a long time in it. For example, like by the way, album. John Frusciante apparently was listening to a lot of British music, like British 60s music, and bizarrely, in turn, by the way, sold the most copies in the UK, I think. Yeah. I read a fact, and it was something like 1 in every 3 households had, by the way, as a physical copy from like 2004, which is absolutely mind-blowing. I also had a copy of it, so so did you. So but and I remember going to friends' houses, and they had it, and it's like it speaks for itself. It's a fantastic album from Great Britain.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
And I feel like it was against the odds as well that those albums did well, because John Frusciante obviously it was against the odds that he was even going to potentially even survive. Never mind, come back to music. So it was a massive twist of fate for them, really, wasn't it? And
it was, yeah. So it brings up to 2006, Stadium Arcadium, a double album. Mammoth album, 30 odd songs, is it? 30 odd songs, 2.5 hours of music.
It's about 2.5, yeah.
In my opinion, their best album. I absolutely love Stadium Arcadium. I think start to finish, it is okay. You've got some songs that don't hit as well as others, but even the songs that I would say quote unquote and quote marks are bad still have redeeming qualities to them. I just think it's them in their prime, that the sound spot on, them as musicians and performers is spot on. Everyone's on top form. So that does well. They're touring, it's all good. And then a bit of silence, would you say? Things go a bit. We're not hearing much from them in the late 2000s, are we? So much.
Yeah, I remember specifically. Sorry, and I'm gonna just sort of give you my take on it. Was that I obviously like yourself, we both listened to Stadium Arcadium kind of like about the year it came out, 2007, 2008-ish. And I remember, really excited, waiting for the next one. God knows how long that's going to be. John Frusciante. I remember I bought this album on CD. I've since gone on to buy it on vinyl, The Empyrean, which I think is arguably one of my favourite albums of all time, if not my actual favourite album of all time.
Yeah.
Was released at the very beginning of 2009.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 2 years after Stadium.
Stadium 2006. Are we going to get in trouble here? I think it's 2006, isn't it?
Give me a minute. We're saying 2007.
We're saying 2007.
It was released in 2006, John.
Yeah.
Apologies.
We've corrected ourselves. We're moving on.
Massively in trouble there. Do your research, guys. Yeah. So 3 years after Stadium, Empyrean was released, and I remember getting it on release, fantastic, and I was like, wow, this is John Frusciante's like peak work. What's going to come next?
Yeah.
And that was 2009. It was recorded.
Did we know he was still in the Chili Peppers at this point?
At this point, he was still on paper.
Yeah.
In the Chili Peppers, and they were just on a hiatus.
Yeah.
Because they just finished the Stadium Arcadium tour. Frusciante had recorded this album between the end of 2006 and up to 2008. So it'd taken him like nearly 2 years to record this album.
Yeah.
So which explains there's a time gap there, isn't there? Of like, this is what he's been doing in that time. Understandable. Once he's done with it, once it's released, bang, we're going to get more Chili Pepper stuff.
Yeah.
That's normally what happens. Obviously, that wasn't the case.
No. So it was 2010 when it was announced that he was no longer in the band, wasn't it? And Josh was joining the band as a full-time member.
It was like the week after Christmas or something, wasn't it?
I remember being in college and you got the article up.
I was totally upset. As it turned out, quite happy that John Frusciante's solo work then turned to a lot of electronic stuff, which is a bit Marmite, but personally, I really enjoy it.
But he's on another path now. We may follow that path another day. But we're going to stick to the Red Hot Chili Peppers. So they've lost John. The last album was Stadium Arcade, and the last album before that is By the Way. If I was in their shoes, I would be a bit stressed, to be honest. I'd be kind of like, how are we going to continue this momentum, this legacy that we've built up? And I think the only way to do that is to not do that.
And to relate that to our personal experiences, I've been in bands several times when quite key members have left. And it's difficult, if not nigh on impossible, to replicate.
Yeah.
And you have to go down a different path. You cannot choose the same path and go, right, this person is a direct replacement.
Yeah.
Again, going to bring it back to sport. You have a superstar in your team and they leave. Very unlikely to be able to replace that person.
Yeah.
You just need to get a different style.
Yeah, but as we said earlier, I think they did the best they could with picking Josh. I think that would have worked the best for them.
The safest option.
We get I'm With You, 2011 I'm With You.
and I know from a personal point of view, I'm With You was probably... It brings a lot of memories back for us especially, doesn't it? We both got the album at the same time. We had it ordered and delivered to our houses, didn't we? On CD.
Yeah, I went out and got it.
Oh, you went out and got it.
I don't know if it came out when I had the broken arms.
It was about that time.
Yeah.
But I remember getting it. And obviously now we're vinyl collectors, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
We've both got the album on vinyl, and it's a fantastic listen on vinyl. I thoroughly encourage anyone, if you're going to do it properly, do it on vinyl, please.
There is a bit of a warning that I think me and you both have a strong bias towards this album, because for me it was like this was the soundtrack of the late summer of 2011 to me, and this is when we were both 20. We were both young, we were both free. Don't think either of us had jobs. It didn't stop us at all, did it? We were out living our life every night.
We were stretching the most out of our teenage years as we possibly could before having to settle down and be true proper adults, weren't we? We were still taking as much of adolescence as we could by the balls. And what better band to represent that than the Chili Peppers, to be fair?
Yeah. So let's get into I'm With You then. So the first track, Monarchy of Roses, opens up well, leads into a bit of tension before going into like a funk disco-esque kind of number.
Just for reference, this wasn't the first song that we heard from this album. The first song we heard was
Rain Dance Maggie.
Rain Dance Maggie, and I was incredibly impressed when that was released. And I know it didn't do massive numbers, but when I first heard that, I thought, John's not in the band anymore. I'm not expecting incredible levels.
Yeah.
And I think that had to be the expectation going in, was that the people that knew, so your fans that maybe, your passive fans might listen to it and gone, oh God, it's a bit lackluster. But because we knew what to expect from it, and we were like, John's not in the band anymore, he's a key member, it's not going to sound the same, it might not kick as much, it might not have as the John sort of essence like dabbled all over it, and it wasn't. It was very, very unique, and it was a different sound for them, but it was still great.
Yeah.
There's a lot of timpani and percussive elements on it, and I believe there's an artist called Mauro Rafoso that did the percussion with Chad Smith,
Yeah,
for a lot of it, and
there's
he was
lots of
there for the
extra
live shows as
yeah.
well that me and you saw, and he's very, very talented. But the percussion on it's fantastic.
I remember a lot of the promo building up to this album, and I was hype, and I'd seen the hype around Stadium Arcadium. I'd seen the kind of press circuit they were on back then, and I was excited to witness it this time as a real invested fan. And I remember I think they went on like Jonathan Ross. And I remember watching the whole show and thinking, "Oh my god, this show is dreadful. Like, when will it end?" They come on right at the end, 5 minutes before the end of the show. Typical bog standard interview. A few jokes. Oh, you're going to give it away, give it away, give it away, lads. And they're like, "Oh yeah, okay. Oh, you're going to new album out? Yeah, yeah. Okay. Anyway, get on stage and play the song."
Mainstream car crash TV.
Yeah, yeah. I remember see, nowadays you can release like a 2-hour podcast, or they can go on they can go on these big names and really like spend time. But back then it is a bit of press, a bit of promo. Like, yeah, great, play your new song. I remember the mix live on that show was terrible. Like the guitar was like turned right down. So let's get back into the album now. Let's plow through. So we've got Monarchy of Roses.
Sorry, John. Yeah, I diverted then, didn't I?
It's all right. It's not a straight path, Tom. We can take some turns. We can look at some nice lakes as we drive past, but we need to head towards the goal, don't we?
We do.
So Monarchy of Roses, what do you think of that
Monarchy
track?
of Roses, I really enjoyed it, and sort of took the time recently to go back through the Chili Peppers back catalogue and learn the guitar pieces as well, and was really quite impressed. Obviously, John Frusciante had a very minimalist style that was very effects heavy driven with a lot of overdubs. Josh as well, massive on the overdubs, massive on effects, but he didn't on this album go for a minimalist style as much. And Monarchy of Roses does convey that. One thing I liked about Monarchy of Roses, again, it had a heavy feature of Josh's backing vocals, and I don't know whether you noticed, they're quite a big part of that song, and I really enjoy that side of it. Really good song.
The chorus,
there's a middle eight where he's throwing it in as well as
I do think the guitars are a little quiet on that song. I do think that kind of takes away from the massive sound of it. Like,
I feel like
the stadium sound.
The album in general had a very high bass, on the mix.
Yeah.
The bass felt very loud in comparison. But again, if you were to listen to Josh's solo stuff, a lot of his stuff sounds like blended in together, and it's very spacey. And
from what I believe, and I don't want to just make stuff up, but from what I believe I've heard on the grapevine, is Josh and Rick Rubin, the producer, didn't really see eye to eye, and I think there were some problems with that, and it did affect. Like, a lot of Josh's input was impacted by that. But yeah, Monarchy of Roses is a pretty strong opener.
I can believe that. Yeah. Monarchy, it kicks, and it jumps straight in, right at the deep end, bang, and it goes hard, maybe not as hard as some people would like. I think it's a mature, pumping first song for a band that's in a new phase.
And then after that, the bass just rips it open with Factory of Faith. I love that bass riff. That bum ba dum ba dum.
The tone on it is crisp.
It is, isn't it?
And you can really hear the Music Man Stingray that he uses on it.
Yeah.
Probably going to disappoint you, John. Never one of my favourite songs on that album. I think as a melody and as a hook, it's quite weak, but it's everything it needs. Like, it's everything. To me, it's more of a filler track, but I still enjoy it. I don't dislike it.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's a fine song.
Because I've got plenty of them coming our way later on. Brendan's Death Song. Top level.
One of my favourite Chili Peppers songs. Yeah. Like, not even just one of my favourite Josh songs.
Yeah.
One of my favourite all-time Chili Peppers songs.
Kind of that really nice acoustic kind of noodling at the beginning.
Hammer-ons and licks that he does.
How this song just slowly builds up, and kind of like the emotion around it. This was a tribute to like someone related to the band in a way, like a close friend or someone that they'd worked with in the past. This was like a tribute song to them, and it really, like, I love how it just in the end just everything's going, and it
was a long time friend of the Chili Peppers called Brendan Mullen. He was part of early LA punk scene, apparently.
Great tribute. Like, I think that'd be a banging funeral song. That if you ever find that an episode of itself, that funeral song.
And the music video to it as well, which was released after the album was released, is a big funeral procession.
Yeah,
through the streets of, I think it's New Orleans or something. It's a really good put together video. One of my favourite songs, if not my favourite song off the album.
Yeah, great song. Big thumbs up. Rolling, everyone. Starts with the bass. When you live this song gets into the nonsense of it, doesn't it? The nonsense lyrics of Anthony Kiedis.
This is the divisive side of the Chili's again, isn't it? It's you either can get behind it or you think it's a load of rubbish. I really enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah.
It's never going to be a 10 out of 10 song.
No.
It does what it needs to.
Yeah, I think a cardinal sin for me in music is spelling things. I hate songs where they spell things.
It's lazy lyric writing,
isn't it?
There's that
Taylor Swift one in there that came out not too long ago, and it's like, hey kids, spelling is fun. Have you heard that one?
No, I don't think I have.
Brendan Urie of Panic at the Disco.
No, I don't think I have.
To be honest,
I'm not missing out.
You're not missing out. Liam Gallagher did one recently as well, didn't he? And the one I would think of is Limp Bizkit's Behind Blue Eyes. With It's got that robot voice.
Yeah.
That's a little sin for me, but I like this song. I like the bass as we mimicked before.
Ethiopia, fantastic song.
Yeah.
But again, it's the E-I-O-I-E-I-A.
When you went your love away.
There's just no need for it. It's lazy lyric writing in my eyes.
Yeah.
Lazy.
One bit I really like, and I think it really shows off the kind of restrictions on the guitar. It's not just wailing, shredding guitar. I love the guitar in it. Where it's like
and it's a really simple little within the box lick.
Yeah.
It's
short and sweet, simple. And then we get into Annie Wants a Baby. I've wrote down on my notes. Probably one of the album's most forgettable songs. I would never listen to it or seek it out. Every time it comes on, I'm like, oh yeah, this song, yeah. Annie Wants a Baby.
I have nothing of worth to add to what you've just said, other than I agree with everything you've just said.
It defines filler to a T, doesn't it?
If that song was not on the album, no one would complain.
Yeah. I wonder if they ever played that song live.
I'm not entirely sure.
I don't think they will now anyway.
I'd never request it.
No.
I would never request it.
I did not right, we're going to do one Josh Yeager song. Oh my God, what are they going to play? I can't even, how does it even start? Yeah, that's it, yeah.
The bass again. It's a heavily bass-led album, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's why me and you love it so much, I think.
And do you know what?
Primarily bassists.
The bass lines on it are fantastic. Yeah. Very well written, very well thought out. Not particularly difficult, but just they flow.
Yeah.
They flow and they're really nice.
I think this is Flea having a bit more freedom from, again, I think this is a bit of rumour and speculation, but I think it's been confirmed and they've admitted it, though, by the way, and John's involvement being so heavy, and by the way, that Flea was on the verge of, quitting the band. Yeah, he was that fed up because he was kind of writing his bass parts for him. I think at the time as well, Flea had started, studying music a lot more on this album, and there's a lot more, as you say, there's extra percussion, there's piano. Not to say that they've never had piano, synths or keyboards or anything like that in previous works, but it's really present here, and it's them playing it rather than obviously bringing in extra help.
Flea's obviously Frusciante knows a lot of theory, but he's not primarily theory based. I think Flea, while the Chili Peppers in general are a band that go off feel. Flea obviously went to University of California and massively studied music theory, came away listening to all types of classical music, and he's always been quite a music connoisseur anyway, the stuff he listens to, the jazz and stuff. You can tell with the way the chords change. He sort of goes to chords that work but don't sound like they'd work.
Yeah, you're not expecting them.
You're not expecting them. They're not particularly comfortable.
Yeah.
They work in theory and they kind of work in practice. John Frusciante.
Oh yeah,
very clearly.
You know what's coming sometimes.
He played it very safe, but ultimately it sounds good.
Yeah.
And it's a bit like, you could argue, like the Bee Gees, for example. They know what they're doing. They're absolute genius level of songwriting. But do they play it safe all the time? Of course they do. They jump to chords that you know what's coming next. But it is what it is. If it sounds good, it sounds good. On this album especially, this was where Flea's songwriting really took the front foot.
Mm-hmm.
And for better or for worse at times, it's a mixed bag, isn't it, with him?
Yeah.
It's a mixed bag.
After the most forgettable song ever, comes Look Around, which I think is a pretty solid bop with a solid melody. I like Josh's backing vocals on there. I quite like it, mate. I quite like the cute little guitar, like, and again, the bass is thumping.
It's a Chili Pepper song.
It is, yeah.
It's ultimately a stereotypical Chili Pepper song. You show them something like Look Around, and it's like, yeah, there you go. Fun, upbeat, minimalist, pumping. It does everything it says on the tin.
Moving on, we've kind of touched on this really, so we'll just briefly touch on it again. Adventures of Rain Dance Maggie, great song, quite fun. I think the chorus, I quite like the verses. I think they kind of have a bit of tension and a bit of maybe even a bit of moodiness to them. I think the chorus is just so fine, does the job.
Josh's backing vocals on it, and I believe Flea did backing vocals on it as well, are very reined in. But reined in enough that it just sounds about right. So you really have to try harder to hear the backing vocals rather than, like, say, other Chili's albums where it's like, oh yeah, that's clear. You can clearly hear John Frusciante and his million overdubs of his different harmonies in the chorus of Rain Dance Maggie. It's a lot harder to pick out who's singing or where it is. You can still hear it, but it's a lot more stripped back, which is for better or worse. Again, it's subjective, I think.
One lyric that really stuck out on the song: tick tock, I want to rock you like the 80s, cock blocking isn't allowed.
Yeah,
that's what was that?
That was one of your favourite.
Wasn't it because they tried to get set? Wasn't it? They were performing on something and they wanted to censor the word. Was it cock? From a proper 80s,
I remember something about this, but
I remember you telling me the story. It would have been good for the podcast. That.
And I don't remember. I genuinely don't remember now. But it was reported at the time, I think, wasn't it?
So it wasn't just pure nonsense like a lot of Kiedis's lines.
Like 90% of it.
Yeah, but then we get into Mine and Yours, probably hands down, favourite track, Did I Let You Know?
Unbelievable song.
Yeah.
Unbelievable song. And I know it's underrated probably compared
100%,
but I think, again, when I think of my favourite Chili songs, not a lot of people, when you say the favourite Chili Pepper songs, go to the I'm With You album. It's got at least two of mine, with Brendan's Death Song and Did I Let You Know. Did I Let You Know? We were singing that for months.
That was like
months.
It was like the meme, wasn't it? Because it was like nights out. It was like when the nights out was starting to peter out a bit, and we'd had too much to drink, and we were starting to get a bit.
I know.
It was what we kind of scream at each other like.
Take me home.
It was the basic. Home. It was the soundtrack to, like, right, I've had enough now. We're causing a bit too much trouble here. We're gonna get.
You know?
We need to leave. Take me home.
And there's a beautiful, I think it's a trumpet solo.
Yeah.
About part way through. The only thing I think that that ruins that song is the totally unnecessary Anthony Kiedis, and little things like that thrown in.
Yeah. So cheeky Mozambique.
Like no need for his little before the brass section.
These lyrics.
He lets it down.
Things get worse as things progress.
I like you cheeky, so Mozambique. Now Mozambique, as most people know, the country Mozambique, that. Some desperate lyric find in there, isn't there?
She's your age and I met her at the bus stop. So we get into Goodbye Hooray. Okay, more energetic, but the mix seems a bit messy. Fantastic bit of bass, so I really love that bass solo at the end.
I agree with the mix being messy. There's a lot of parts of it that just sound chaotic and a bit like they hit the limits. Almost.
Yeah, I think this is a common Rick Rubin problem, though, that lots of people have brought up. He's very messy and he's very loud, and he just kind of puts all the sliders up to max. Rick Rubin is like a legendary producer, and he's worked on some of the best stuff. But I've heard stories of people not really quite rating him. I know one band, not particularly a band I listen to very much, Slipknot, worked with him on Vol 3, and he said that he was very uninvolved. Very uninterested. So it's kind of like catching him on the right day. But again, I think problems.
He had a good relationship with the Chili Peppers.
He did, He's borderline like the fifth member, isn't he?
Yeah, that's what he's been. He's been. Well, it was Josh, wasn't it? Until he became the member. But yeah, Goodbye Hooray again. I think personally up there with Annie Wants a Baby, as if it wasn't on the album. Yeah. Not many complaints.
Well, I was just about to say,
forgettable.
Happiness Loves Company is the most forgettable filler track on the album. Yeah, it's okay.
I think, is it on the record, this is about side C now?
Yeah.
We're on about side C, and it starts to
I've noticed the Chili's
thin out a little bit.
I've noticed the Chili's don't do side C's very well.
No, it's
For
a
some
pretty
reason.
concurrent theme in it.
Yeah,
It does start to thin out here and this. It's a strange part of the album that the final third, I'd say, the final third goes very piano heavy.
Yeah.
I think pretty much all the tracks except the last one from track. Yeah, is it? I think it's about 4 tracks in a row.
yeah. So after
Heavily-
this, yeah, we get
Heavily
into
piano based.
Police Station, which is like a nice little pleasant ballad.
I love that
I
song.
quite dig it. Yeah,
The longest song on the album
Yeah.
as well, Police Station.
and then the flow changes a bit with Even You Brutus, which is I don't know. I've kind of got mixed feelings on it. I feel like it's got a bit of an earworm to it. There's some funny lyrics. And I don't mean tea. And Stevie knows all is fair.
The lyrics, again, as I'd say 90% of the time, let the song down.
Yeah,
I think when that came out, I loved that song.
I did as well.
I actively looked forward to hearing that when it came on, like as I listened to the album all the way through.
Yeah.
These days,
not so much.
Less so.
Yeah.
It wore thin quick, but I don't dislike it.
Yeah.
I think it's a fine song.
I think
it's just fine.
It kind of breaks the pacing, as you say, as we're getting into this like kind of melodic close, in between Police Station and then Meet Me at the Corner. I think that song should have been higher up, more towards the first half of the album, because it kind of breaks what's kind of like a nice, pleasant, elongated outro. So we've got Meet Me at the Corner. I love this song.
Again, one of my favourites
the outro
off this album. One of my favourites off this album. Not much more to say, really. Yeah. It's a really nice song. You didn't like the outro?
No, I feel like it's a bit like tacked on. I feel like it's like they didn't know how to end the song properly. And this comes back again on a later album.
I really enjoy, and I feel like it's so like the lyrical content of it is like, I think it perfectly goes down with the lyrics of "Hear the sign from the gods that you weren't meant to be mine, and it's fine." So it's ultimately it's a song about heartbreak, but then it ends with a very positive, upbeat. Like, do you know what? It's okay. It's like that's fine, and I think it's a twist on it because the song doesn't flow that way. Yeah. The first, like, say, 2-3 minutes of the song are like very sort of slow, and then it picks up and it catches you off guard. Yeah, I enjoy it. Obviously, you less so, but
I get it. It's I'm not like completely offended by it. I think this problem comes again worse later on in their career, and then we're in the album on Dance Dance Dance, which is pretty overall like hated. It is, yeah. A lot of people really hate this song.
You enjoy that song?
I like it, yeah. It reminds me of like kind of again going back to our core memories and living through this album. Like I always envision like the sunset over the over the Mersey, over like out into the sea.
As we were like the morning after the night out, been on or something like that,
or like an evening, a hot summer's day, an evening ending, and going into a night of fun and debauchery.
Yeah. Do you know what? Dance Dance Dance. I didn't realise. So for reference, everyone, I'm not a big Reddit head. I go on Reddit when I need to. If there's something I want to find out, and I like people's opinions on it, more or less when I'm troubleshooting about a problem. Yeah. So if I need to fix a table in the house or something, I'll be like, I'll go on Reddit.
It is great.
If I don't know what I'm doing, I didn't realise there was such a negative connotation to Dance Dance Dance. I think as a song title, Dance 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 sounds a bit stupid. Yeah. That's just a personal opinion. I think it's a beautiful melodic song. Shows off lots of Josh. Great bass. Again, I'm going to point out the percussion on this entire album, which I didn't mention Brendan's Death song, the drum working towards the end of that song was unbelievably good. Dance, Dance, Dance. It's a different way to end an album, but it ends it on such a slow note. So for example, for reference, the end of Blood Sugar Sex Magic ends on that. They're Red Hot. Which is a cover, and it's a bit of a wacky one.
Really takes
encapsulates the album. The quirky, the wacky, they're out there. And the Californication ends on Road Tripping. Beautifully,
I don't like that.
Beautifully downbeat song.
Yeah.
But again, not really what the album sort of like. Yeah. Other than 1 or 2 songs off Californication, it's sort of a throw off. And there's a few downbeat songs on Stadium as well. But I think Dance 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 is a fine last song.
Yeah,
I think it's a fine last song, and on the whole, this entire album of I'm With You. So there's a picture, I think, of me and John when we went to see it, didn't we? We went to see in Manchester the I'm With You tour, and we had a fucking ball. We had a great time.
It was great, wasn't it? First time for both of us seeing the Chili Peppers.
And obviously,
some people may seem mad because like it was without John. But...
Yeah, and we would obviously have preferred to have seen it with John, but we saw it live. Josh was incredible.
Yeah.
And to the point where there was a supporting band, and now I forgot what the support band were, but I remember Josh came out and played half of their set with them. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do actually.
He came out and
I don't think anyone was even.
No, me and you spotted him straight away on the side of the stage. Like, that's Josh. He played half of their set. It was a California band, I think. I've never heard them before, never heard them since. Massive endorsement there, and I think that's just the top thing to do. But that album encapsulated a time period in our lives, and maybe that's why it's projected by us in such a positive and amazing way.
I think there will be a bias around it. I think if you're like a younger person than us, and you're getting into the Chili's and you're doing like a full-on deep dive for all their albums, you may think of this as a bit of this sounds a bit weird, this sounds a bit off, it doesn't sound like the usual stuff. I think growing up through this was an experience for me and you.
Yeah. So to compare this to, say, anything else, I'm going to compare it to the 2010 FIFA World Cup. In that it came at an amazing time in our lives. We were young, carefree, the memories around it, brilliant, hot summer, amazing, fun times, and the atmosphere around it was amazing. But when you look at delving into it, the 2010 World Cup was, performance-wise, it was a load of shit.
Yeah, no one looking back on it.
Most of the results were 1-0, I think, and it was a very low scoring, if not the most.
We got kicked out on the.
England got 4-1 by Germany in the last 16 or the quarterfinals.
Yeah, it wasn't
the ghost goal.
Yeah,
but either way, as a World Cup, very forgettable. The surrounding, the group stage, and it was in South Africa, and the vuvuzelas was amazing. And I think I'm With You is perfectly encapsulated like that. Great time in our lives. We were carefree. Yeah, we're going out every other night. We're going wild. And this album comes out, and we're like, yes, this is the Chili Peppers, man. Whoa! And then you look back in hindsight and go, was it as good as we thought it was? If that came out now, would we be like, wow, this album is amazing? Or would we be subjectively like, this album is not great?
I don't think I could say. Yeah, I don't think I could say. I think, like, as you say, when you just bring it up then, like, so many, like, good memories of that time period, the World Cup, you spilling the bowl of Wheatos all over our mate's carpet. Losing to Germany, and you throwing your vuvuzela and your hat on the barbecue. Our mate jumping out of our mate's bedroom window and sellotaping sausages to the
gutter. Yeah,
the Chili's was so involved in our life. Like, we were so connected to the Chili's, and everyone connected the Chili's to us. And like you know.
Like still to this day, when people hear the Chili's, they think of us, and our daft antics.
Yeah, so there was so many like kind of fun I'm With You stories that we had. Now I would like to get into more personal stuff later on
we can delve. Yeah. Lots of personal stories.
But anyway, to sum this album up, what I've got is I'm With You is a change in direction. Although it breaks the flow with a very solid run of albums with John, it's a pleasant welcome. I have a lot of memories around this album. The mix and production may not be my favourite, but it's a solid album and deserves a lot more love than it's got in recent years. I've given it a 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10? I think a 7 is a very fair score. Just to quote the ever-reliable Wikipedia, which I think kind of does it justice, the album received mixed reviews, with many praising newcomer Josh Klinghoffer for breathing new life into the veteran group, but also noting that John Frusciante's absence hurts the group. And it's true. And that and I know that's a bit of a contrast of a statement. Josh is great, but John not being there hurts the band. And both of those statements are true. I think any band without John Frusciante in is going to suffer. But then at the same time, Josh Klinghoffer, on his own merit, is a phenomenal musician, a multi-instrumentalist as well. And his guitar parts, like he came into that band and he has not tried to be John Frusciante. I think it's very fair to say he has come in and he has not tried to replace John. He's come in and gone off his own merits. This is my style of guitar playing. This is what I'm offering. And he's not tried to replicate, which brings us on to the Getaway.
Well, in between the Getaway, and we're not going to do a track by track on this because I don't even think you've listened to all of the B-sides, have you? After I'm With You came out, we got a world tour, and then we got like a kind of thing in between where every month they were releasing like two two songs
Yeah,
from extra recordings from the sessions of I'm With You.
I
Once they
lost
were all,
track. I think some way in because it was too slow of
yeah.
a
Once they all
release.
came out, they did release a limited edition like vinyl. It is very expensive, very hard to come by. I'm still actively trying to seek it out. And Besides You collection, B-sides album.
Which is quite a cool name for it.
Yeah,
I agree.
I had a full listen to this recently in preparation for this podcast. Again, I'm not going to get too much into it. Basically, my takeaway from it is they are B-sides. Now, the Chili Peppers have got some amazing B-sides, like amazing B-sides.
Yeah.
These are just a little bit hit and miss. Some are quite cool. Some are just, I feel like they're all very like bits and pieces. Like you could have took the chorus out of that and made something better with that, or the verse is good on that. But I feel with the Chili Peppers, and I think this is an issue going in to moving forward into later albums, and even back in the earlier stuff, is they make too much, man. They make too many songs, and instead of focusing on like 11 amazing songs and having like this 10 out of 10 album, you're getting like 14 to 16, sometimes 17, and then it brings the quality right down. There's only 3 songs out of this collection I've got saved on me playlist, and that's In Love Dying, which is like a almost 9-minute track. It's quite cool, and it's just like it feels like an elongated jam. Victorian Machinery, it's again quite cool and kind of shows off a bit more Josh and his guitar. And Open/Close, which I believe is like a spoken word storytelling song. Anthony telling 2 stories from kind of like the period of the 80s. One is a bit dated, and I maybe people should have a listen to it and form their own opinions, but
Okay.
it features some pretty loaded language and inserts from his book.
Dear God, you can't forget that book, can you? I delved ever so slightly, and I thought they felt like B-sides to the point where I've forgotten pretty much the entire content of I'm Beside You that I listened to. Like I said, I never listened to all of it, but I thought they felt like B-sides. They were fine.
Yeah.
They were okay. But it was thank God they released it as a B-side album and not as a here's a double album full of all these songs, because then people would have been disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, like doing that's a risky move. I mean, you should only really do that if all the songs are worth releasing on a double album, shouldn't you? That's a thing called foreshadowing.
Maybe they should have realised a few years prior that's Chili's, like you said, they released some fucking amazing B-sides. The Californication, by the way, and Stadium Arcadium B-sides, just from those 3 albums.
A couple I could throw on now is like Bunker Hill, Runaway,
Million Miles of Water, Quixotic Elixir, Funny Face, tons, absolutely tons that you think they could be on the main albums.
Yeah, I'd die for the B-sides collection from like that 1990,
the best B-sides,
2006.
They could make a full album out of all the greatest B-sides.
So we get a bit of a gap in time. This is not unusual for the Chili's. It's not unusual for a kind of later stage band. We basically get 5 years in between I'm With You and Getaway,
which is a fine gap.
Life goes on. Things aren't the same as they were back in 2011, especially for me anyway.
Especially for me.
I've got kid number 2 on the way. I'm working, life is completely different. So maybe that changes our approach on this album. Maybe. So we get into 2016, The Getaway.
Yeah.
Let's just get into The Getaway, hey.
So from a personal point of view as well, I'd moved over the water quite a distance away from my family and friends. The settling down process had kind of begun, and I wasn't in a happy place.
No.
And it was kind of a bit of a downhill. Like, it was the start of a downhill spiral for me, and the Getaway helped me because it was a bit of positivity and niceness in the midst of the real world's come and hit me real fast.
Yeah.
But that's just my take from it.
I wasn't too dissimilar to yourself. I think a good thing is like for us, the Chili Peppers have always been like a light in life. You know, they're not like one of them bands that like try and drag you down with like heavy politics or like social issues. It's a bit of a getaway from life,
quite literally.
So,
and it's
to get a new Chili's album in this kind of like more rocky period in life. I was really looking forward to this album, and what I'd heard, as we'll get into, on the lead up to this album, I was very excited.
we had to take it for what it was at the time. I think I can speak for John on this part as well. That the band itself weren't getting any younger, and it was a case of, right, I don't know how many years this band have got left.
Yeah, you get into that period, aren't you, where every album could be the last album. Yeah.
Could it be the last before they call it? Could they never play live again?
Mm-hmm.
Is a member going to leave? And like it was that uncertainty. But because we hadn't had any new music for years, we kind of just lived in hope that, do you know what? Any Chili Peppers music is better than no Chili Peppers music. And I think it was a glass half full approach to what was admittedly a pretty disappointing time in life, wasn't it? A pretty sort of not the best of time. The Getaway came at us. I think it was pretty. It was not acknowledged that they were making a new album. Like, we knew that it was in the stages, didn't we? But we didn't know what to expect from it.
Darkness Estes was released on my
first track
on my birthday. It's only the second track in, so it doesn't break the order up too much. But let's talk about Darkness Estes. I think this is an amazing song, like a modern Chili's classic. It takes influences from previous hits. I think Can't Stop is the one everyone goes to. I feel like it's quite unique in a way. A great guitar solo from Josh. One thing I always think about, like, my partner isn't the biggest like follower or big fan of music. If I put Darkness Estes on, and by the way, and said, do you think the lineup changed in between these songs? I don't think she'd notice.
I don't think it's as obvious to people outside of the sort of music realm, is it? Also, what is noticeable about The Getaway is it was the first album,
different producer,
to be produced by Danger Mouse, who is, by his own right, fantastic producer. I encourage you to listen to his album with Black Thought from the Roots. Fantastic, but very out the box that they went with Danger Mouse for this. Yeah. No idea why. I'm sure there's a reason, but I
think, and again, this is speculation. I think it's because Josh. I think Josh was closer to Danger Mouse, and I think after the experience of working on Rick and with you, I think he tried to push the band towards trying a different producer for this record. It makes sense, but it might not be the truth.
It makes sense.
I don't want Rick Rubin knocking on my door and, like,
no one wants that, mate. No one wants that.
Unless he's going to help me produce my album, then help yourself, Rick.
Potentially. But yeah, The Getaway was it 5th of May 2016. John's birthday. Darkness Estes
is out. And what a sense of, like, oh, we're so back. The Chili's are back. This song had me, like, hype.
It's not a typical Chili Peppers song. It's quite moody.
Yeah, that's what I liked about it.
It's quite downbeat. But in my eyes, that showed this is a mature band.
Yeah.
This is a band that has adapted. Nothing too off-key from the previous stuff, but it was a strange song to release as the single from it, and it set the tone for what I thought the album was going to be. I don't know whether it did the same for you and whether that disappointed you with what you got or whether you were surprised with what you got.
Let's get into it. Yeah. So we open up on the title track. The band don't usually do well. That's a lie, actually, because the 3 albums for I'm With You were all title tracks. So forget that. That's bullshit. So The Getaway, the title track, introduction. I love this song. I think it's great. Still one that whenever it comes up on kind of like my Spotify shuffle, it's getting a full listen. I love it. I love the lyrics. Obviously, I don't know what it's about. I kind of like that with songs. I don't like digging into the knowing what the meaning is. I like to kind of put my own interpretations on it. To me, it seems kind of like a bit of a failed relationship, maybe in another life. I think the lyric, you don't have to keep it if it's mine, maybe alludes to some kind of pregnancy or something like that.
I think it's good that it's subjective, isn't it?
Yeah.
But one interesting tidbit to take away from The Getaway is that Danger Mouse is actually credited as a co-songwriter.
Right.
For The Getaway. So for at least think about half the songs, to be fair. He's credited with at least 6 of the 13 songs on the album as a songwriter, which is interesting if that adds anything else to it.
So we'll skip Darkness because we've already done Darkness.
But sorry, what were your The Getaway and Darkness Estes? Personally,
this is a great start.
I think they're 2 very good, perfectly acceptable songs to start a new album with. But by track 2, after hearing the first 2, I was like, this is going to be a really good album.
And then We Turn Red. Instant boner killer for me.
Yep. 100%.
You know, I'm hard, I'm erect, I'm excited. This comes on, it's flaccid again.
Yeah, it's cock blocking isn't allowed, but they cock block themselves.
It's not the 80s now; it's the 2010s.
If anything, perfectly described a filler song.
Yeah,
I feel like they've tried to go back to the Blood Sugar Sex Magic style of songwriting, and you know what? That was fine back then.
It worked back
then.
Yeah,
it's like this is clearly a band that are stuck for ideas.
Yeah,
and this is just a 3-minute filler.
I've put on it vocal delivery from Anthony, classic Chili's lazy verse. Mexico, you are my neighbor. Let's get that up, It's one of them. It just spirals off to it's that melody like da 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 da.
If I never heard We Turn Red ever again, I would not be sad.
I do like the chorus though. I do like when it goes into that, that soft thing. You've got the guitar almost like a bit of a Hawaiian-y vibe, and like
yeah. One thing to point out again from Josh's take from this album is I noticed guitar-wise, Josh stripped back. So from what he did in I'm With You, his guitar work was almost halved on this album, which surprised me because I thought what he was doing on I'm With You was fine. And he didn't need to change what he was doing. I think he may have gone, right, there was a backlash to I'm With You. I need to try and... I'm not saying this is what happened, but maybe someone said to him, someone suggested, I need to be more like John Frusciante. And he's gone, right, I'm pulling my guitar all the way back, stripping it back. From a personal point of view, doesn't work.
I think that probably came internally, to be honest. I'm just going to put that there.
Potentially.
So we get into the longest wave, and from this point on, I'm going to struggle to say too much good about this record. This track is fine. Nice bit of guitar, decent chorus. I just don't feel it.
It's a nice song. It's a very well-written song with different parts to it.
Yeah.
Lots of different parts, but there's something about it. Yeah. There's something about it that's just empty, and it just doesn't quite hit.
Yeah.
It's like you've turned the volume up to 7, and it's like, but why aren't you turning it up to 8?
Yeah.
It's just missing something. But I don't know what it's missing.
Like holding back,
it's holding back, and I don't know what it is. I've never been able to figure it out. But if anything perfectly encapsulated this album, I think it's probably that back. Song.
It's Restriction. Yeah.
There's something about it that just doesn't go all the way.
I feel like the next track after that really encapsulates what you've just said. Because I feel like Goodbye Angels, feel like this should be massive, and it kind of feels flat. The mixing, the production lets it down, I think, and it should have felt fatter and bigger, especially like that slap bass outro, bump it down, and the guitar.
The outro to it, where Josh is soloing and Flea's doing the slap bass stuff.
Yeah, and everything leading up to that is just so.
It's so meh.
Yeah,
like you're waiting for it, and then when it comes, it doesn't hit as hard as it should.
Yeah,
it hits, but it's about a 7.
It's like that clip off Peep Show, isn't it? Where Jeremy sees the Chemical Brothers. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that.
Oh, he does it, and they're all talking about the song, and he goes like, he's telling them how the song should go, but like he's saying it from a complete like he's going,
non-music.
Oh, yeah, and he's going, instead of going, here we fucking go, we're playing the fucking song. When will it end?
Yeah.
To be honest, I feel a bit like that during the Getaway, especially later on. It is like, like, come on, boys, when are you going to wrap this one up?
Those 3 songs from 3, 4, and 5 are a tough listen for me. It's at that point it turns into a slog, and I remember when this came out, I really hammered this album constantly. I was listening to it back and forth again, got it physically. Physical CD at that point again, still.
First new Chili Peppers album I got on vinyl, I think.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you had a record player by
I had a record player by this point.
I sadly did not.
No.
But it was a struggle. And then song 6 comes in. I think me and you both have very different feelings towards this song.
Oh, is it Sick Love?
I personally rate it as a good song.
Again, like, at the end of the day, when I criticise Red Hot Chili Pepper songs, like, the worst Red Hot Chili Pepper song is still better than the greatest Nicki Minaj song. Like, it's like it's different like levels of quality. Like, I'd even say like going back to Korn, like a band I was also very big on. The worst Chili Pepper song is probably equal to an alright Korn song. Like, it's still high in quality. So like, I'm not going to be saying, "Oh, this song's bad." there's songs back. Well, actually, there are songs later on that I think I just straight up will be saying that. But with Sick Love, it's not a bad song. I get it. I understand how people enjoy it. The biggest thing I take away from the Getaway, Sick Love on the Takeaway on the Getaway, is
Yeah.
what a wasted potential to use Elton John on.
Well,
I didn't until I actually looked on the record notes after hearing on the internet, like, oh, Elton John played on this song. And I was like, shut up. Like, and you go on to it, you look at your album notes, and you're like, oh shit, yeah, he is credited. I wouldn't have known that he had any involvement on the song.
So I've seen Elton John live. I'm a fan of Elton John. If you've heard the song Benny and the Jets, the verses for Sick Love are the same.
Ah, right, okay.
Like the melody and everything it's the same song. So if you look at the songwriting credits, it's credited as Elton John as well and Bernie Taupin, who
right,
they both
didn't know that.
They both wrote Benny and the Jets.
But he does perform on the song, doesn't he?
I believe he does. Yeah. He was brought in to perform the piano on this song.
Man, if you're bringing in Elton John, get him to sing.
But he's basically performing Benny and the Jets.
Yeah,
it's the same chord pattern. It's the same melody. It's the same vocal melody.
Do you think this was intentional, or do you think this was noticed later on and they're like, shit, we've took this from Benny and the Jets, we better get in touch with Elton John?
I feel like that's probably what Josh has probably been listening to. Elton John wrote it and gone, oh, this song's amazing, and they've gone, oh, I'm sure this sounds familiar.
Because we've been I've been a songwriter. I'm sure you've had involvement in songwriting.
Songs,
I've written songs and I've gone, wow, I can't believe that, I've come up with this song, sounds great, and then I'm in the car listening to music and I'm like, oh fuck.
Yeah. But
that's that.
I think you have to look at it subjectively and go, there's only so many chord patterns and notes that can follow on from other notes. So there's only they say there's an infinite number, but there isn't.
There isn't, like, especially with pop music.
With music that sounds good, you can put notes together that don't sound good.
Yeah, and
you can put notes together that do sound good, and it takes about 2/3 of the sections away when you do the notes that work together. So at some stages you're going to get accidental plagiarism or people claiming that things
I'm not going to say for 1 second it was any deliberate.
The fact that they got endorsement from Elton John to do it is lovely. I think it's a great song. I think the music video is really good to it. But
I don't like the music video either.
But ultimately most of the song's just Benny and the Jets rehashed. So it's weird. It's kind of a cover, but kind of not.
Yeah,
it's weird.
Strange that, isn't it? Speaking of music videos I don't love, Go Robot. The song itself, though,
what is that music video?
The song itself is a great, funky little number, but it's times like this. It's times like this you learn to live again, and it's times like these.
You give and give again.
You give and give again, and you notice that John Frusciante's not there. I listen to this song, and it sounds like almost like demo. Like you're like, oh, this is before they added the lead in. It needs it. It needs it to be up there as a Chili Pepper greatest hits. I think it needed more from the guitar. And I know Josh isn't the most show-offy lead kind of character, but it needed something more than what was on it.
There was interesting tidbit from it. So there was 2 bass lines.
2 bass lines, yeah.
2 bass lines on it, which, is it needed? It's unique. It's very unique.
I really have to prick my ears up to try and notice.
Oh, do you? Okay.
I think that it feels like it could be played on... I feel like it could be very difficult to play, but it does kind of feel like it could be played on one bass.
Maybe to some ears you can hear that. Yeah, I guess so. I think that's a subjective, isn't it? Really,
to me, it's like bum ba down, bum 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 ba down, bum.
But they are leveled differently as well.
Yeah,
you can hear that it's multi-layered.
If I zone in, I can like on when I listened to it on vinyl the other day, it stood out a lot more.
It's crisp, but on vinyl.
If it's just in your headphones or on the car, it's hard to kind of differentiate.
In terms of the guitar parts as well, very minimalist again. As a song. Just as a song, what are your thoughts on it? Do you like it? Do you not like it?
I like it. I think after what we've kind of had so far, it perks it back up again.
Yeah, my thoughts on it were that at the time, I thought Sick Love and Go Robot were really good songs.
Yeah.
In hindsight, looking back on the Chili Peppers as a whole, I think they were the best they had in a tough period of time. So I go back now, and I don't think I would ever choose to listen to Sick Love or Go Robot as a standalone song. Unless I'm listening to the album as a whole, I would not choose to go up there and go, oh, I'm really wanting to listen to Go Robot today. This
is what I usually do. I usually find myself doing is Go Robot comes on shuffle. I'm like, yeah, Go Robot. and then I never listened to it all the way. At some point, I'm like,
Yeah.
actually, nah.
About a minute and a half in, it's like, I'm done now. I'm done.
Isn't it? It's about phone sex, isn't it? I think.
Is it?
Yeah.
I've never known what it's about.
Yeah.
The music video's
so.
quite out there. It looks like a bit of a B movie. Like, it looks very cheaply made.
And Arcadius, he's not as sexy as he used to be. He looks a bit strange. He looks a bit.
He's a granddad by this point, isn't he?
Yeah. So now we're getting to Feasting on the Flowers. This album is starting to bloat. It's starting to really just fill up with numbers and this is the thing, like, people say this album's the better album out of the two. I just don't understand it, because, like, you know, you've got Feasting on the Flowers, The Longest Wave, We Turn Red, Goodbye Angels. Like, these songs are just nothing to really shout home about for me.
At this point in my eyes is where it really falls off a cliff.
Yeah.
Like, so...
not quite yet for me. I'm on the edge of the cliff. The fall off the cliff is about to happen after this song.
Feasting on the Flowers for me is the most nothing song they've, other than We Turn Red. I think Feasting on the Flowers is probably the most nothing song they've ever done. However, I do prefer it to the next song that's after it.
Next two songs I've literally just clumped together. I'm not even giving them individual reviews. The 9 and 10. And the what is it?
This Ticonderoga.
Right.
No idea what that is. Sorry.
Worst songs on the album.
I'm sure Reddit tells what a Ticonderoga is.
The worst songs on the album, and the mix on this is messy as hell. Yeah. That's what I've said.
I feel like it's meant to be like old school rock sound. Does nothing for me. It's basic to play. It's not fun to play. It's definitely not fun to listen to. The least inspiring and least imaginative Red Hot Chili Peppers section of tracks.
Terrible.
I think out of any album
on Detroit. Detroit, I'm crazy.
Yeah. And it's very melodic.
Don't you worry, baby.
But then the music in the background's still quite pumping and aggressive.
Yeah.
While he's doing it, it doesn't work. So Feasting on the Flowers, Detroit, and this Ticonderoga, those 3 songs in a row, I think probably the 3 worst clumped songs together out of any Chili's. Side C again. What is strikes again.
What is their problem? We get into Encore, and this brings it right back up. We've climbed up the cliff. The great song, lovely, melodic, pleasant surprise. One of the best tracks on the album for me.
I would argue the best song on the album. When I go back to listen to this album, on the rare occasion that I do, this is the song every single time that I will choose to listen to. Yeah. Pretty much 100% of the time.
It would have been a nice closer, to be honest.
Beautiful closer.
We get 2 long songs now. The Hunter and...
Of course shows Josh off as well. Josh's solo vocals in the choruses. Beautiful. Textbook Josh. That is Josh being Josh. And he should have been allowed to do more of that. Mm-hmm. Or whether it was a case of him being allowed, or whatever the backstage politics of it were, if there was more songs like Encore on this album, I think I'd have loved it a hell of a lot more.
The Hunter and the Dream of the Samurai.
The Hunter is hunted.
The Hunter gets hunted. See, as much as we don't like them, like, you know, they're in your head. We can just instantly be like, the Hunter. Well, that's the meme between us. It's like, if you got nothing to say, you just say
it.
The Hunter got hunted.
So these last 2 songs, in my opinion, was Flea getting his dick out and saying, look at my songwriting skills, which, very good, but again, you can tell, just based on the way Flea's chord progressions go, you can tell what he's doing, you can tell who's writing it, because Flea's a very consistent songwriter. And the bass line on Dreams of a Samurai, I think, is a fantastic bass line. Yeah. I think it flows really nicely. It's so nice to play. So nice to play. Lovely tone. As songs, they do nothing for me. I don't enjoy listening to them. I wouldn't ever go out my way to choose to listen to The Hunter or Dreams of a Samurai.
No.
Ever.
I've got a spicy take with that. Since Flea's music skill jumped up to the level it did, the music suffered a bit. I really do.
His bass lines
going back to what you said with the unique kind of more out there chord changes. If you're Radiohead, that's amazing. If you're, like various other bands, that's amazing. Sometimes with the Red Hot Chili Peppers, I want a bit of Red Hot Chili Peppers.
I think
I want banging tracks. I want anthemic big numbers. And sometimes when there's too, like as you say, there's too many changing parts. There's too many let's completely change the outro now. Let's go into this. Now let's go into that. I don't always think it blends well.
It doesn't, and I think you've hit the nail on the head to some degree. So when you brought up Radiohead there, what Radiohead do is they own it. So they go, right,
it's their bread and butter.
We're not a mainstream, even though they are.
Yeah, they've dabbled.
Their musical style is not a mainstream style. Their music is for people that enjoy music.
Yeah.
Right? So they own it and they go, right, we're making songs here with chord changes, with bizarre rhythmic patterns and bizarre time signatures. And it takes a long time to work out what's going on with Radiohead songs. What Flea's done is he has gone for some quirky chord changes in what I would regard as fairly safe music.
Yeah.
So he's experimented a bit, but he's not gone 100% into it.
Yeah.
And it leaves it sounding like, oh, well, that just didn't sound right.
Yeah.
Whereas on Radiohead, you listen to it going, I know this isn't going to sound right.
Yeah.
Flea stuff, it's like every 30 seconds you'll be like, oh, that was a bit off.
I think
that was a bit off.
Again, we're fans, so we're a bit more forgiving. Whereas your average, like my mum, for example, like going back to 2006 when she picked up Stadium Arcadium from the shop, she would have enjoyed that. She would have enjoyed that in the car because that's the Chili's. If my mum played this album,
California,
she'd probably just turn it off. Like it's not, and again, like this always gets into such a hot button issue because people get very like, oh well, it's the band and the band should do what the band wants to do, and I completely agree with that, and I completely agree that they should evolve and change and do, always aspire to do better. You've got to know who pays your wages. At the end of the day, I think these albums probably didn't do so well commercially for these exact reasons.
I feel like there was a big. I noticed. I don't know whether you noticed.
This album
publicity.
This album got a lot more publicity than I'm With You. I remember that for a fact.
I remember being shocked that I'm With You basically didn't get any plaudits, really. Like, it got no real attention in the release.
It didn't at all,
in the build-up. No. At least the Getaway got a bit more of a social media build.
Yeah, I remember Dark Necessity's getting constant airplay on radios, Radio X, and probably even like the likes of Radio 2, BBC Radio 2 and the likes of that. I don't remember hearing one single track being heard off I'm With You on the radio again. I remember seeing them on like Jonathan Ross on the I'm With You. I remember getting the clips online of all the press from America that they were doing. They were going on them late night shows. They did that god awful James Corden carpool karaoke.
That was quite painful to watch. But then you look at it and go, so for example, when you said earlier on, and myself as well, when we first got into the Chili Peppers when we were kids, we would listen to them on the music channels. Yeah. So we would turn the music channels on, but the way people digest music now is different. The way people are exposed to music is all completely different. But it's a different world. But I definitely feel like the only people that really digested or ingested, is that the word? The Getaway or I'm With You are Red Hot Chili Peppers fans. If you aren't a big fan of that band, are you going to give those albums the time of day? Because if you are, you're going to turn it off pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And that's my take on it. And you've said it exactly. Yeah. Your mum could chuck Stadium Arcadium on in the car and be like, oh yeah, a few good songs there, into that. As a casual listener.
That's it.
She's going to chuck the Getaway on, get through about 3 songs and be like, oh, I'm done with this. I'm done with this.
We can ride them, we can fling out the window.
And I don't blame her. But how would you rate it?
A 6 out of 10 for me. So it's gone down a point. Again, I think we've been harsh, we've said some things, but it's still Chili Peppers. It's still the worst is still better than the best of other things.
Any Chili Peppers is better than no Chili Peppers in my eyes. And I think Josh has got a really tough spot to fill. But I think by this point it was I'm With You came out and the expectation was lower.
Yeah.
They've then had 5 years to release this second album, which on paper you'd think this is going to be better than I'm With You.
Mm-hmm.
In my eyes, and obviously in your eyes as well, this album was not better than I'm With You. If anything, it was a step back.
Yeah.
And that, for me, was unforgivable. Mm-hmm. Because it's like, no, you should have evolved a little bit more.
It was a bit of sink or swim, wasn't it?
You should be improving on I'm With You. I'm With You was a placeholder.
Yeah.
And for it to go backwards was a real wow moment. And obviously, as it went on in Chili Peppers chronology, it was Josh's final bow. And I think, on a personal note, it was massively unfair to Josh. And I think he's fantastic. He's gone on to do wonderful things. Mm-hmm. He's the session player for Pearl Jam. He's gone on to stand in for former Chili's guitarist Dave Navarro in Jane's Addiction on tour totally talented musician and clearly a very humble human being. And I think he's been given a really tough go with it.
Yeah.
To compare it to David Moyes when he took over Manchester United after Alex Ferguson left.
Oh, you get as many football teams in as possible.
No. And as a Liverpool fan, I can't stand Man United. But poor David Moyes, and in this sense, poor Josh.
Yeah.
Standing on the shoulders of giants, and it's the expectation and reality. It's tough to live up to that height.
Yeah. What I think of is the story that came out of how he was basically sacked from the Chili Peppers.
And
he was invited to Flea's back garden. Wouldn't even let him in the house.
He was invited.
Well, you never. Don't let him in the house. He can come round the back, John. John's in the living room. Don't let John see him.
He's not to know.
Yeah.
Don't let him know we're jamming with John again. But apparently that's what happened. Flea had a few jam sessions with John, and Anthony was aware of it. Chad was aware of it.
There was something going on. There were things coming out, like there was pictures of like Flea and John being seen together.
Wasn't it at like the LA Lakers game?
Yeah, and at that point, I thought something's happening. I always thought they were going to go down a route of becoming a 5-piece, and it would have been interesting to see. But I think egos would have just clashed, and it just would have got in the way.
I think a 5-piece would have been wonderful. It wouldn't have been.
It would have worked perfectly
live, really, and it would have been completely fair on Josh. I think, like the fairest way of doing it. John's giving this to the band. Josh is giving this to the band. Let's have them both.
Yeah.
But for some reason, and I think, and I know none of us were there. None of us were,
this is all speculation.
We can only stand on what we've heard from the horses' mouths themselves, is that Josh Klinghoffer got sacked, and that him and John Frusciante have not spoken. And as at the time of writing, I am led to believe that is still the case, that they were former, musicians together and friends.
Yeah.
They have not spoken since John's got back in the band.
Someone brought this up a while ago when I did an episode reacting to other people's comments about the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and someone said they didn't like John Frusciante's childish behaviour. They didn't really go quite into detail, but I could pretty much grasp what they meant from that. And I think instances of like falling out with Josh because he took over the role of the Chili Peppers is a bit childish, because you left that band. Like, I always remember going back to relationships, and like one of my first relationships, when that ended, I got dumped via text. I ended up starting to like see a friend and get to know a friend a bit more. And I know in some rules that's like a big no-no, but
bit of a taboo, isn't it?
I was sometimes, and her friend was showing an interest, and we were talking. And I remember my ex was so bitter about it, and she really fell out with her friend, and she was really like kicking off at me and like having such a go about it. It's like, yeah, but you dumped me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm free to do whatever I wish now. Like, you weren't the jilted lover. I was the jilted lover.
It was almost like they couldn't see the rational thought of it.
It's like, I don't want him, but I don't want you to have him either.
I don't want him, but no one else can have him.
That's John Frusciante, isn't it? It's like, I don't want to be in the Chili Peppers, but I don't want my friends to be in the Chili Peppers.
I see it as, and this is, I've worked with special needs for 10 years now. I see a lot of people on a daily basis that don't have, say, autism diagnosis, ADHD diagnosis, that maybe if they went to school nowadays would get that diagnosed. Personally, me and you were in that bracket, John.
Oh yeah.
We are on the spectrum for sure. I've got an ADHD diagnosis as well. As an adult, John Frusciante is probably one of the most neurodivergent people I've ever seen. He ticks so many boxes just from an outsider looking in.
Mm-hmm.
And one part of that is he is unable to see from another's perspective quite as well. So he sees it as very much a me versus him.
Mm-hmm.
Or he's an outsider. A lot of things came out when John rejoined the band that a lot of the band members said he thinks it's his, what is it? He should be in this band.
Yeah,
he needs to be in this band. And that is a very neurodivergent way of thinking.
That could be one way of thinking it.
Explaining
or a divorce and a few flop albums could also be another way of thinking about it. We will never know.
He does not release albums to get sales, does he? He releases albums for...
Part of me does think that it was a bit of... I think the bank account might have been getting a bit dry. And maybe it's time to join that band again. And I think that's what some people get a bit agitated with. And I said this on a previous episode, that he makes me worry. He scares me because I'm always on edge that he's going to get upset and just leave on a whim. I'm always looking at concert footage and be like, no one mess with John. Don't throw a bottle on the stage at him. Don't bother him around the back and ask him for interviews. And you see, because the bands still do a lot of press and a lot of stuff, and most of the time it's Anthony and Flea and Chad, and you're like, oh shit, where's Sean? Where the fuck's he gone? What's he doing? Why is he not involved in this?
I think there was when they had the Hollywood Walk of Fame star put on. It was only about 2 years back, 2-3 years back, I think it was.
Yeah.
And John was there. And I remember reading a lot of the comments, and the comments spoke to me because John was clearly very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And people were asking him for autographs, and there's footage of it asking him for autographs, and he's really nervous. Dead socially reclusive, isn't he?
Yeah.
And my nerves were, oh my God, it's got too much for him. He's going to leave again. He's just going to leave. And it's that, but we're not the only ones. Around the world, people are seeing it and going, oh, please be kind to him. Don't push him out.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want to do all the press stuff. John wants to, from what I've gathered, he wants to go in the studio. He wants to make music. He wants to perform live.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to do interviews.
No.
He doesn't want to do public events. It's not him. That's fine.
That's fair enough. That's completely fair enough.
You can't be in one of the world's biggest bands.
You can't have your cake and eat it.
You can't have it all sometimes.
We went back to kind of fans and what kind of fans may have thought the Josh era, and I went on Reddit the other week and I put a post up basically asking people to just give very brief, quick thoughts. So let's get an idea of what some kind of fans like ourselves think of the Josh era, and we can kind of react to them.
Go on.
Again, I keep more in the circles than you, so it'd be interesting to see what you hear from these comments, because I think that you're expecting certain things and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. I was pleasantly surprised. I was expecting to be like, oh, it was shit, it was crap, whatever.
I feel like
we've moved on from it. We're never going to hear them songs again live. It's not worth it.
I feel like that's just my expectation of the internet in general, is that it's just negativity.
The internet's a lot like that, isn't it? So the thing is with these usernames, some of them are a bit hard to read out. So Brain Kirin says, as a fan of the band, I have zero issues with Josh, but it is 100% apparent that the rest of the band prefers writing music with John. That's just outward fact, isn't it?
Whether they prefer writing music, I don't believe they'd have only gone 2 albums in with Josh and effectively sacked him if they didn't prefer writing it with John.
Well, I remember listening to that podcast he released around Unlimited Love. And Flea basically said...
these are the Rick Rubin ones?
Yeah. Flea basically said we struggle to jam and work on songs with him.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think they just had a different way of working behind the scenes, didn't they? And which is fine. But yeah, that's probably fair.
Yeah.
It just wasn't meant to be.
Adzora 377 says, he's a good guitarist, but not a perfect fit for Red Hot Chili Peppers. On the other hand, Frusciante had been a fan of the band, particularly Hillel, since age 15.
Particularly Hillel, was that?
Yeah, Hillel, yeah, sorry. They even became acquainted before his death. So when Frusciante joined for Mother's Milk, he focused solely on emulating the funk guitar style. It was important to remember that the Red Hot Chili Peppers, at the end of the day, have always been a funk rock band. Frusciante's success in the band gave him allowance to slowly incorporate his own music into the records, which is the signature feel we have, particularly on Californication to Stadium Arcadium. It's far removed from the previous, but being that Frusciante was close to him, so that style never was truly lost, especially in lots of their live jams. Klinghoffer didn't have that connection to the Red Hot Chili Peppers' roots, and in my opinion, was mostly sounding like he was trying to emulate Frusciante's style. He never really found his own voice. I feel like the original sound was buried entirely during this stint. Again, he's a good guitarist, but he followed a genuine legend. There are several songs on his with them that I do like, but it mostly falls in a flat era in their history. He just wasn't the best fit.
I disagree. That person kept calling him a guitarist, and I see Josh as a musician.
Yeah.
Josh's first instrument, I believe, was drums. And yeah, as a guitarist, definitely on the Getaway, there was an attempt to emulate John a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm with you. He definitely did his own thing.
Yeah, I'd say that as well. Yeah.
And I think that was more on the band or outside sources forcing that rather than Josh himself.
Yeah.
I think Josh is very introverted again. And again, they said...
I mean, not to put words in his mouth, but would you think that he's correct on the fact that John Frusciante joined the band as an enthusiastic fan of the band, whereas Josh's like his music's a little bit more different from kind of the stuff he'd done outside the Chili's. With it being a bit different, do you think he wanted to come in and change things? Whereas when John originally came in at the young age he wanted to continue things.
So obviously John was a fan when he joined the band in the 80s, and he was a young kid at the time, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Josh joined the band as an adult, and Josh had been on the LA music scene in the late 90s with Thelonious Monster and Bob Forrest, bands like The Bicycle Thief he was in with him.
Yeah.
So they were in the same circles in the late 90s. Yeah. And that's probably how Josh and John met in the first place in the early 2000s and got together to do the solo stuff. But I do see that maybe Josh was and this is quite an out there take on it, was Josh too much of a mature musical voice coming into a band that had already had a very established way of working for decades.
I think there's something behind that. Yeah, I think going back to the comments that Flea made, the band is a jam band. I think at the end of the day,
see that
they get in the studio, they make some fucking noise, and they go, "That sounds good. Like, let's work on that."
Yeah.
Whereas I think Josh probably came in with pencil and paper and was like, "Come on, let's create a song," and maybe that clashed with the others.
Yeah.
But I've got a lot of comments to get through here, so
we'll
speed through them a little bit more.
Go.
Peter L. Whitman. I was a huge fan of the band and John's solo work prior to his departure, but I was excited and curious to find out who the new kid was at the time, back in 2011, and whether he would take it in the direction of trying to emulate John Frusciante or create his own sound entirely. Obviously, Josh had big shoes to fill. When Rain Dance Maggie came out, I knew things were going to sound different and that Josh wasn't going to be for that Frusciante sound. This made me fall in love with I'm With You, and the whole energy Josh brought to live shows. I felt kind of elevated by the band. I asked for bite-sized bits, and some of these are a bit long.
Some of them are elongated.
With the rest of them already playing in their 50s, but watching their live jams, it felt like their chemistry isn't quite as strong as what Flea had with John. The Getaway is a decent album. I've learned to play probably 80% of Josh's Red Hot Chili Pepper albums, but how quickly I stopped playing these songs as soon as Unlimited Love and Return of Dream Canteen arrived, I can certainly say that there's no better time to be alive and to see John rejoining the Chili Peppers. And hopefully Josh gets back to putting out more Doc Hackett albums, because these records are fucking sick. Good luck with the podcast.
Josh also does his other band Plural One.
Yeah, he put that in, but as I was reading it, if I struggle to say
Plural One are fantastic as well, but that's Josh's solo stuff. But yeah, I agree with that. His guitar work is good, but it feels uninspired at times.
Nice quick one. I think it was great. Also, unpopular opinion, I'm With You is better than The Getaway. That was from M4GNUZ4.
Wow,
I agree.
What a username, but yeah. I think we're some of the few people that agree I'm With You is better than The Getaway, in our opinion. Yeah.
Significant peak, 564, great fucking era, especially 2016 to 2019. So most of these are pretty positive. We've got one here that I've commented on, so I know I quite liked it and wanted to use it.
Yeah.
Riffidis. Oh man, why can't people just be called Greg and Dave and Jim?
I feel like they may have already been taken on the Reddit forums.
Josh is a good musician. He definitely understood how to play live, and at times saved the show when Anthony couldn't sing. I've seen many clips of that. I think the distinct issue with Josh in the fan base is not the ability to play, but create with a group that already had nearly 25 years defining the way of doing everything. His addition to songs like Rain Dance Maggie and Dark Necessities are the most pronounced, and I believe the band, its label, pushed those tracks to help establish the new expectation from the band. Other tracks like Look Around are much more similar to John's style, even Monarchy of Roses, akin to Navarro in its intro. Feel like he couldn't pick an identity and became overwhelmed by the sheer force of coattails he was riding. In my opinion, there's one final thing he never did as well as John: harmonise with Anthony. Listen to Midnight, I Could Die For You, Save the Population. So many songs that John uses his voice to empower the tones with a varying range. Josh almost fades away in monotone.
I feel like I agree to some degree, but I feel like Josh's vocals, including on his solo work, have always been more stripped back, a lot quieter.
Yeah.
So therefore, he couldn't sound like John. And again, this is the same argument. He's not trying to be John.
No.
He's trying to be his own person. And maybe the Chili Peppers, it doesn't work as well as it should.
Became more apparent live doing the Frusciante numbers again. I saw them 3 times with Josh. I saw them onto 2011, 2012, and then 2016 when the Getaway came out. I really loved them shows, and I thought he did just the perfect job. But we've seen them with John now, and I tell you what,
it's night and day, isn't it?
It was night and day. I've been waiting all episode to use this analogy.
Go on.
Because I came up with this and I thought it was quite funny. To me, Josh and the Josh era music is like foreplay. Whereas, and hearing Josh's guitar and hearing Josh's music, it's like foreplay. It's like getting a hand job or even a nice little blow job. Frusciante is just full on sex to me. It's full on just sex. Like, you can't beat it like this. Like, it just feels amazing. Like, we're jumping ahead a bit.
It's pure expression.
But as soon as you hear like his solo just rip open on like Black Summer, I remember sitting there after listening to him reviewing the Getaway, and I felt like that feeling of pleasure, like, oh, I fucking missed this.
There was
when you first put it in, first slide it in, and you're like, you've not had it in a while, and you're like, oh, wow, I fucking missed this.
What a feeling! But I remember the start of Black Summer when John Frusciante was back in it. I teared up.
Yeah.
I got so emotional. The goosebumps came hearing the solo and then seeing John in the video for the first time when he comes into it. It's like, oh my God. And it was emotional, man. It really was emotional, because how long was he out of the band for? Like, was it a decade?
Close to a decade, more or less. So his last album he was on 2006. First one back was 2022.
Long time.
So it is a long time.
We changed as people. We were totally different people than we were.
Like we're old men now.
Yeah, in our early 30s.
MB number 5. Right, so Tom's just gone for a quick laugh break, and I do want to get through these comments because I said I would read them out. So I'm just going to carry on my own for a little bit. So MB number 5 says to me, Josh was and always will be a true Pepper. There's something in his style and attitude that makes him an actual Pepper, even beyond his awesome guitar/vocal skills that just embody that special vibe. Yeah, I think that was shown with his help live, and I think that's probably a reason why they initially brought him on. Traditional B6637 says, I loved it. It brought different ideas and styles to a few albums, and it kept the band going during the time that John wasn't into it. I'm also happy John is back as well, but I'm admittedly curious what the new album they were working on with Josh could have been. Now, I remember that they were working on a album at the time before Frusciante came back, so there is a bit of a hidden album out there, or at least partly.
It would be interesting to hear what they took from that. Or what part of that ended up on Unlimited Love, or Dream Canteen. Because for all we know, Unlimited Love and Dream Canteen could be just completely brand new post Josh.
Yeah,
we don't know.
So I am going to leave the comments now, because this has spiraled out into a lot longer than I planned this to be a long episode, but it's gone to a long one. So thanks everyone for commenting. There was some good feedback there, but I think on the whole, what I got from them comments was people enjoyed the Josh era. It's not been dismissed, but at the same time, everyone's like, I'd rather have a shag than a hand job.
Yeah.
We've left the Josh era now, and we're going to talk about the post-Josh era, because I still think it's quite relevant to talk about the before and after, and, how we think the output from the band is compared to what it was with the Josh era. So let's get into, obviously, there was a few years where the world took a bit of a break. I think this album probably would have came out a lot sooner if it wasn't for that. But we have 2022's Unlimited Love.
What an album. What an album. So again, it came at a time when it was like, so the COVID pandemic had hit the world and everyone was like, feeling a bit shit and a bit down. And then all of a sudden it was like, this new album's coming out with John. And I think I was worried that it was going to disappoint.
Yeah, there was definitely like a cautious optimism, wasn't there?
We were all a bit scared of like, maybe Better the Devil, like obviously, like, is it safer to just not have this album? It could come out and be a massive flop and we'll be like, wow, John is not the same John that he was.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's better to never meet your heroes. Sometimes it's better for John Frusciante to never get back in the Chili Peppers. But as it turned out, I think we're all quite glad about it, aren't we?
Well, let's get into it because I think there's some interesting things to say. So, Unlimited Love opens with Black Summer. The big comeback, John Return single. The track took its time to grow on me, but I really think it's a modern classic. Great build-up, great solo, after the first, bit. Although it's no masterpiece, it hits me in the right way, and it definitely instantly, as soon as I heard it, I was like I said, the analogy, you stick it, you stick it. Very Chili Peppers to talk about this kind of stuff in this manner. You're like, oh my God, this is what I've been missing. It's like being on a diet and fucking it off and just having a fuck off burger or something.
Just going to McDonald's.
It is. It's just like, oh my God, I fucking missed this. As soon as that guitar, even the chords, it does to me feel like this is the Chili Peppers again, the back. And I hate saying that because we've just given so much praise to Josh here and said it's still the Chili Peppers, but this is the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
This was the essence, wasn't it? And yeah. I was sad that the first I heard of this was through a leak. So I heard this.
Yeah,
I heard
this like a day before.
It was about a day or two before. But it still got me, and I was like, "Oh my God, is it real? Is it not real?" And I think we sent it to each other, didn't we? We were discussing it between ourselves. It was like, "Oh, is this going to be the genuine link? Is this going to be? Can we wait?" And then I thought, I can't wait. Like I've waited 10 years for John. Like I want to hear it, and I heard it, and I was like, "Oh, is it real? Is it not real?" Because a sailor spoke to. And,
I was just about to say it does start with a bit of a
his vocal quirks, and I was like, "Oh, that doesn't sound like
he's on the dark side of the moon."
His little quirky vocal spins, and I thought that
as soon as that guitar comes in,
and obviously it hadn't.
I thought it was legit, to be honest, but it was that as soon as the chords come in, the ding 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 ding, I was like, fucking missed that. I've not heard that for a long time, and it's finally come back. And it was great to see it coming out and people making a hype and see all the articles coming on social media. The Red Hot Chili Peppers are back, John Frusciante, Black Summer, get on it. It got radio play, it did well, and I was elated. I was like, can't wait for this album. This again is a period in my life. I think it was maybe a bit different to what you were going through. I think since we've spoken about periods of life in each album, this is kind of like a bit of a comeback era for me in a way again.
Yeah, I remember that for you.
Things had ended. I was starting to like live again, get out, do things again. This felt like a bit of a comeback, and it kind of came at the point of a comeback. So I don't know how it relates to you in your life, but that's something I kind of took from it.
So for me, it was my first ever vinyl record. It was the album that kind of encouraged me to go completely vinyl and get a record player and just commit to it. And bear in mind, this is 2022, so this is only 2 years ago. But
well, we've got a funny story about that, haven't we?
Oh my word!
In the next track,
we discussed that. But for a time in my life, I wasn't happy. I felt trapped. There was not a lot I could do about it. We're not going to get into it too much, but again, at a time when things don't feel great, the Chili Peppers are there. And it sounds cliche, it sounds cheesy, but you know what? It was a brilliant thing at a time when I was like, do you know what? I am stuck and I don't know what to do, but I know I'm not happy. But the Chili Peppers are giving me that little bit of respite in this time right now. And believe me, they fucking did. What I think is strange about Black Summer is very John Frusciante. That you can tell he's laced all over the thing.
Yeah.
But
so he should be.
The guitar part, the song is actually in, I believe it's in E flat.
Yeah, it's a different tune.
And it's all a half step down. So instead of it being like I think pretty much all of the Chili Pepper songs are in standard tuning.
Yeah.
This song is a half step down, whether that's to help with, and normally when bands, musicians, artists choose to
accommodate an aging singer.
It's to accommodate a singer, but the rest of the album was in standard, so I really don't know.
Yeah, just a choice.
It was a choice, but it was a unique sound. And again, Frusciante, and he has his same effects of wow. He hits the whammy bar. He's got his Strat. It's the Strat scream. It's Frusciante in a nutshell.
Yeah.
It's Frusciante screaming through a guitar, and it's beautiful.
Yeah. So after that, we get Here Ever After. And we've heard a unique version of Here Ever After, haven't we?
Yes.
So when you first got your record player, you were going through all manner of trouble with it, weren't you? I think it was a bit faulty.
So,
go on, you tell it.
So it's to anecdote this one. This is an interesting tidbit. So I got a record player. It was I think it was a Lenco.
Was it like a magnet one or something? Like
no. The one I've currently got's got a like a weight on it to keep the needle, and that is also a Lenco. But the one I got was a Lenco, and the belt wasn't spinning right. Normally records are in at 33.5, aren't they?
Yeah.
Speed,
RPM.
And this one, no matter how many times I fiddled with it, looked up guides, I was messaging you.
Yeah, I was getting stressed. I
messaged the friend who is a sound engineer,
mm-hmm.
who's an expert on all old gadgets and stuff like that. He didn't have a clue. Ended up taking it back to the shop, got the same model, and had the exact same issue. I then took it back. I took it back to where I got it from.
Yeah.
And as it turned out, the only explanation they managed to get from it was that it was a faulty batch. So normally you get a faulty product. To have a faulty batch is even more inconvenient, and it very rare. It's probably happened to a handful of people ever.
Yeah,
but it ruined my experience of getting a record player, because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not very techie. I'm not very good at hands-on stuff.
I'm not either.
All I had on was this beautiful Unlimited Love double vinyl. And it's a beautiful white one as well, white coloured vinyl.
I've got it in blue.
You've got it in blue. Blue for the red. How Chili Peppers? Strange.
It is, yeah. I would have preferred the red one.
I would have preferred a red one as well. I've got a white. You've got a blue.
Yeah, the white was HMV, wasn't it?
But it was, yeah. Sadly, support your local record stores, guys. But I was playing it, and obviously it was not in the right time, and there was a lot of waiting on another black summer to end.
It was the bit you sent me was Here Ever After. Like, she's the kind of girl who makes you wanna go faster.
And I had that on a video, and I kept watching it because I still hear that song now and hear that as she's the kind of girl that makes you wanna go. Do you know where Home Alone 2? Kevin McAllister, where he records things on his tape machine.
Yeah.
Kevin McAllister, the father. And it reminded me of that. But
in reality, it's an amazing song.
I got a different record player.
Yeah.
All is well, and we're fine.
Yeah, great song, great thumping pace. Bum ba dum ba dum ba dum bum. She's Your Asian, the bus stop, quick stop, whatever.
Oh.
This album and the next album is probably the weakest Anthony Kiedis has ever been, and we'll get into it further. And for the most part, like, his vocals are good, his melodies are good, but the lyrics, and he's always had this thing with the lyrics. The lyrics sometimes just go off the fucking deep end. You're like, what the fuck? And sometimes it takes you out, and it does on classic songs, doesn't it? Spider web.
To say Anthony Kiedis
cheese and
he litters songs with utter nonsense sometimes, and more so than others was the latest two Chili Peppers albums, where absolutely no filter.
It makes you feel
it makes it feel cheap. It makes it feel almost queasy, uncomfortable to listen to, cheesy, almost embarrassed to listen to. Some of the songs.
Going back to songwriting again, like the way I would write songs is I didn't ever write them conventionally in ways. I didn't sit there notepad and pen. That we would play the song and then I would come up to the mic and say things, get melodies in my head, get themes and ideas, and sometimes when you're trying to work stuff out, you're just saying words. And you just be like, Scooby-Doo and the witch's curse, didn't know which one came first. And you're like, you go home and you write that into something else. But that's your first draft. That's getting your melody down.
I was about to say, you get the melody before you get the lyrics.
Anthony Kiedis should have no worries about writing Scooby-Doo and the witch's curse into a song. Nope. That has nothing to do with Scooby-Doo or witches' curses. He'd just do it. He'd just be like, "We going down to California with a Scooby-Doo,"
and he'd probably come out and say, "Oh yeah, there's a deep meaning to it," and come out with all the reasons behind it. And I'm sure there may be, but the power of music is that it's subjective, and you can make of whatever you want to make of it, and that's fine. Yeah. But to me, it just sounds like bloody nonsense.
Yeah. So we get Aquatic Mouth Dance talking about nonsense. Great bass, nice through the funky funky, the more funk heavy influences return. But this song isn't really for me. It kind of drags on a bit way too long.
It goes on far too long, in my opinion.
Yeah, it kind of brings me back to Humpty Bump.
Yeah, it's a bit of a novelty song, I think, and it just didn't hit.
No.
I don't know what it was about it, but that song just didn't really hit at all. But so the song length is 4 minutes 20 seconds, 4:20.
It feels a lot longer.
But there's at least a minute of that song that's just a repeat.
Yeah,
I have to say, kind of similar with the next song as well. Not the one.
Yeah.
Drags on a bit. Lovely song. Also features John Frusciante's current partner doing backing vocals on that song. And that again displays Flea's wacky chord changes, I think. You can tell again. Once you
heavy
hear it,
on the piano, heavy on the dun.
Not the conventional chord changes that sound too right, but then again, it's not too far off either. It's a nice ballad.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's a nice ballad. It doesn't quite hit, I think, as well as it should.
No,
but it's fine. It's a fine song.
Yeah,
and that's a good first side for a vinyl. Those first 4 songs are great.
So then we get into Poster Child. I've got to be honest, it's a bit earwormy, but I can't lie. This song needs to fuck off. It's just a bit too daft and goofy, and the typical Chili haters definition of a bad Chili song.
Yeah.
Whenever you come across someone who doesn't like the Chili's, and you're like, oh, I do like the Chili's, what's up, what's your problem? Oh, I fucking hate it when they do them stupid rap bits. It's too silly, it's nonsensical, and it's just like, hoopa dopa California. And songs like this just do not help that. Yeah, that's it.
And it's fast.
On Led Zeppelin, a Pink.
Do you know what? It's impressive that he can do it. And at the speed of Poster Child, he manages to fit so many bloody words in.
Has it been played live, though?
I think it has, I think it has. But it's the 3rd longest song on the entire album.
Unnecessary.
And again, like I said about...
Was it the 2nd or 3rd song that we got as well early? Because we got at least 4 songs early, didn't we?
It was after Black Summer we got Poster Child.
It worried me when it came out. I remember that. It worried me. I was a bit like, uh-oh. Like, I liked the return to the earlier sound. I liked that it's funky. It's not really for me, but, I can see this being fun and nice. But for me, I was like...
It felt a bit Sir Psycho Sexy levels, but not as inspired.
Yeah.
The guitar works great, the bass works great, the vocal works great, the drums are great. It's fine, but it's a 5-minute song, and it could be a 3-minute song.
Yeah. 3 minutes, I'd probably be a lot more forgiving. But
it's repetitive again.
Yeah.
It repeats on itself, and there's about 2 minutes of that song that is the same as what you've heard. So
if that came on live during a set, because they only really play 16 to 17 songs, I'd probably be annoyed. I'd be like, this is taking away...
toilet break.
Yeah, this is taking away a possibility of hearing something else.
Yeah.
So we get into the Great Apes. I'm on a big Planet of the Ape kick me at the moment. So
we love our Planet of the Apes. Yeah. The originals, by the way, guys.
Both, actually. I like them.
Yeah. The
Apes together strong. I like it. Not much to say. A cool guitar part thrown in on that. Classic John again, ripping it up. But it's nothing special, is it?
I feel like I'm doing it dirty by saying it's a filler song, because it doesn't feel like a filler song, but it's not as strong as most of the other songs on the album.
Yeah.
It's there, it's got its place, it's fine.
Yeah.
And that's about it, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Then we get on to, and this is one of my all-time favourite Chili Pepper tracks, It's Only Natural.
Beautiful song.
Fucking love this song. This was when you said, like, you teared up to Black Summer. I don't think I teared up to this, but this was like when that euphoric feeling from head to toe, that tingle of like when the solo kicks in on this song. I was just I'm not gonna keep saying what I said before, but I got that feeling. I got that feeling once again.
That beautiful feeling in your pants.
Yeah, I love the backing vocals. I love that.
And she
I love that. It's only natural. The bass, the slap bass, everything about the song is 10 out of 10 for me.
A warm, wholesome, loving song that, again, is only really, you hear the dynamic range of it on vinyl so well.
Yeah.
I heard this song for the first time digitally after going back, getting a record player, getting this record and listening to this song. This was the one that stood out the most as being variably different from the digital release. It's night and day.
I disciplined myself and I made sure that I didn't listen to this album until I was home with the vinyl on. I didn't put it on my Spotify in work or anything. I didn't want any distractions. I waited, and I felt like the payoff was massive because it does sound amazing on vinyl.
I feel I did exactly the same for the next Chili Peppers album, and I waited a full, pretty much, it was about 9:30 at night I listened to that on vinyl, and it's the only way of doing it. It's how I'm doing it from now on, and it's how I've done it from now on.
I'm not on a cheap little $49.99 suitcase vinyl.
Portable. No,
please don't do that. I know people get shit when they put them on social media, and I know it's annoying, but trust me, they will fuck your records up. They're not good. They're not healthy, and it's pointless. It's like trying to use a laptop to boil an egg.
It's not only natural.
Yeah, it's not only natural.
Right.
Next song. Fantastic song. She's a Lover. Okay. A lot of okay on this album. I feel like it's such a fine okay album. Decent melody again. John brings it in with some great guitar. I know you really like this song though.
So this is one of my favourite songs on the album. I don't know why. I think it sounds very how did I best compare it? Elements of, say, Talking Heads in there. Elements of a few other like really upbeat songs. It's a strange one, but I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
I really enjoy She's a Lover.
Yeah.
And that's where Unlimited Love, the name, comes from that song.
It is. Limited Love again.
Yeah. So, but that's just my take on it. It's a short song, 3.5 minutes. Doesn't overstay its welcome.
No. These are the ways, and to be honestly, I'm baffled how this was a single. Baffled how it was a single.
Right. I've got a different take on this than I had.
Right. For me, it really falls flat. Some great parts on the track, but it needed work. I feel like you could have cherry-picked parts of this. Like, I love that. Down, 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 down. Hate the verse. Make me your fist. I don't like it. I know I don't. I just don't. All I think of in my head is Sesame Street. Listen to the theme tune of Sesame Street, like dun 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 dun. Make me your fist.
I can't believe you. So my take on These Are the Ways
is the opposite.
When it was released, I thought, what have they done releasing this song?
Yeah.
It's, again, like I said about one of the songs on the Getaway, it gets up to about 7 and it feels like it's going to pump and kick and go bang.
Yeah.
And it doesn't quite achieve what it intends to.
Yeah.
But then as time has gone on, I have appreciated this song more. I think it's a very easy song to play.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's nothing to it from a musical standpoint.
Yeah.
It's just a placeholder. I think the verses are wonderful, and I think the choruses are where it lets it down. So completely opposite to what you think, but that's why music's beautiful and subjective.
It is, yeah. As I say, I can't get Sesame Street on my head.
But it does confuse me, and agree that I don't know why it was chosen as a single. It's not single worthy.
No.
In my eyes.
No. So then we get into What You Thinking. A more enjoyable part of this section of the album for me. I like the chorus and the cute bass. The bum, 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 bum.
One of my favourite, if not my favourite song on this album. So I've got another song a bit further down that I think is close to being my favourite song on the album. Yeah. When I listen to this album and choose to listen to just songs from it, She's a Lover, These Are the Ways, and What You Thinking as a 3-piece are always there. And What You Thinking, in my opinion, is my favourite one out of those 3. I think the chorus kicks. And I think there's a little arpeggio that John Frusciante plays on the chorus. And it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. The tone's great. The guitar works great. The bass works great. I just think it's a really well-written song. Yeah, just personally, I think it's a great song.
It's a good song. Bastards are like, I don't know, I keep going on and off this one. Sometimes I like it. I like the chorus. The intro's a bit like, anything at all.
I feel like it was
a lot of the things I've noticed together. I keep bringing up on this is if I like the vocals or not, and like I said earlier on, I think there's things in the vocals that just kind of take it away a bit, and I just don't think it's full effort. Like going back to These Are the Ways, the sights, the sounds, the smells. That's like a meme online.
Yeah,
like, it's like a meme,
it's like that, isn't it? Yeah.
And It is like, I just wish you just sat down a bit longer and was like,
Thought
let
about it.
something else go here instead. Because certain words do just stand out and sound a bit like, it does take you away a bit, and you go like, what? The smells.
Yeah,
These are the ways.
it's odd. Bastards of Light, I think, is probably one of my least favourite songs on the
Yeah,
album. I don't think it's a bad song.
I
I
wouldn't
just,
fight that.
I wouldn't ever choose to listen to it on its own.
However, for me, White Braids and Pillow Chair,
Beautiful.
great song. Sounds oddly similar to Meet Me at the Corner.
You have pointed that
I
out to
have,
me
yeah,
before.
yeah.
I never noticed it. They
Again,
are strangely similar.
same with Meet Me at the Corner. I hate the outro on this. I feel like they just didn't know how to end the song properly. Like, instead of,
Yeah.
you know, when we went back and we said Poster Child was like 5 and odd minutes long. Why couldn't have this song been that long? Why couldn't have, like, it's only natural? Like, make like it's like you're a band that you're so late in your career. You've done enough work to like branch out a bit. Make this a long song, drag it out. Like, I really love. It's a song that I'm always like wanting more from after it's finished, and I just kind of think that like that going into that country, like California again. And I think we didn't really bring this up on the Josh.
We haven't brought
We
it up.
didn't bring it up, but does he say California once on "I'm With You"? Because from what I recall, I don't think he does. He may mention
Does he say
towns, or
LA?
he may have done, but I really don't like the typical California. I don't think that was in "I'm With You." And I think it comes in Getaway once or twice.
It's definitely in the Getaway.
It's coming back again now, isn't it? You know what I mean? California Blue.
Yeah. So I'm going back now. I'm trying to think what song was it on.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Getaway. He says California on the Getaway. But yeah, White Braids and Pillow Chair, beautiful song. But I agree, the outro is very dissonant to what was going on.
Flea's kind of out there-ish songwriting of trying to, let's change things up, let's mix things up. I really just don't think
doesn't really work.
It didn't gel, yeah. And it was like, we don't really have an end to this song, but we were jamming a little country jam before. Should we throw that in?
Fun fact though about the name of the song, White Braids and Pillow Chair. It was about an old couple.
Yeah.
Anthony saw in like a cafe or something, and he named them White Braids and Pillow Chair.
Yeah.
Never spoke to them.
Yeah.
But I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's cute, that, and it's cute and lovely.
Yeah.
Model.
Next song, I will just go out there on a whim and say I think this is easily the worst song on the album.
We heard this one live, didn't we? This is,
sadly.
Yeah, it was like, of all the ones that they could have brought out off the new album, it was this one. I've just said it's just another fillerish, weaker number with a solid bass performance once again.
Really good album. There's always one or two songs. This is the one song that I will always skip.
Yeah. Again, it's Kiedis again. He really does let this era down for me. He really does. Like, anyway, I was heading south.
Taste some coffee in my mouth.
It's like, these are like, he's never been great, but it never came up so much in Stadium Arcadium. In fact, some of the lyrics in Stadium Arcadium, like, I absolutely love, like the song Desecration Smile, another girl bad form of health, another broken record running low on luck, serenaded by the tether bed. Even that works. It is silly getting into the animals, but I love it. I love Make You Feel Better. I love so many songs from that period. They're not always like coherent and make sense, and you can decipher them and understand them, but they're fine. And he isn't just saying random shit that just pulls you out the song, and you're like, what? He did a bit on like Californication, and by the way, a little bit like, I always listen to like Purple Stain and stuff, and I like Dirt, and I'm always.
But it's not to the same level as One Way Traffic.
Yeah,
it takes away from the song massively. Not a fan. Not a fan, but luckily it's only a 4-minute song.
Yeah, it feels a little rough, like, hey, I could be your traffic jam.
It's okay, isn't it?
It's fine.
It's okay.
Then we get into Veronica.
Oh,
underrated jam.
This reminds me, not just because it begins with a V, reminds me very much of, by the way, Venice Queen. It's got elements of it. I think Veronica is a fantastic song.
I do. I love it, yeah. It really is great, and I've not really had much talk about it since the release. Let 'Em Cry, Catch You Away on Track. It's decent. That's all.
Do you know what I've seen online a lot of ratings of the songs and stuff like that, and this doesn't rate very highly. This is one of my favourite songs on the album. I absolutely love it. It's filled with Anthony Kiedis' nonsense, which is strange. Up the fauna, we've got Madonna. Like,
we don't
touch up the Raiders. They don't mind. An LA reference to the LA Raiders, but weird song. But there's something about it that I think is really catchy. I don't know whether it's the offbeat,
I think it does stick in your head a bit, and like I
it's
do.
groovy.
About,
It's got a groovy funk to it, but something about it, man. I love that song.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is about it, but I really love it.
It's good. Heavy Wing, amazing track. John is on fire here. Love it. I really wish this closed this album. This closed the album. I would have been, yes, brilliant.
It's kind of a perfect close.
A perfect close. Regrettably, it isn't. But
it's
the song
almost
itself is. I think it's great.
It's a take on John Frusciante's influence from Jimi Hendrix, the Little Wing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like surely, and
this one's the Heavy Wing.
It's not a folk song.
Yeah.
It's just a hard rock song.
We get the first.
It's a guitar song.
I think it's the first Frusciante on his own chorus. People said he does it on Dozed.
But Anthony jumps in for little bits.
Jumps in. Well, this is just purely him, and I love it, man.
Yeah.
All I know that
it's peak.
Yeah,
peak Frusciante vocals. I don't think it's amazingly catchy.
No,
but it's just powerful.
The bit towards the end where the guitar's just squealing,
it's Frusciante.
Going back to what I said before.
Yeah, pants down.
Orgasm.
Yeah, but it's Frusciante again, whacking his tremolo.
Yeah.
On rocking one or two notes.
But it just goes to show you don't have to do much, do you?
Not at all. And
he's
perfected the art of hitting 2, 3, 4 note solos, hitting that whammy bar and making it sound like an absolute machine. It's an extension
like
of
it's struggling, it's fucking crying its eyes out. It's great.
Beautiful, mate.
Great.
So final song on the album, Tangelo.
On the note to put mid. I usually turn the album off after Heavy Wing. I usually get up and lift the needle up. The album's finished for me.
I
don't like it, but I never liked Road Tripping.
And it's the version of Road Tripping for this album, isn't it? It's Road Tripping essentially, and it's a less. It's not as good as Road Tripping in my eyes.
It's just
it's there. We can't get rid of it.
It's a bit of a stumble out the door, isn't it? It's like you've just fucking blown it away with the Heavy Wing, ending it out on that guitar, just the end of that, the big crescendo, brilliant ending. And then to just throw this in, it's just a bit like...
But I like that it ends on the sea. The noises of the sea, the waves hitting the beach.
Yeah.
That's a nice end, but maybe the Heavy Wing should have ended on that. I don't know. On the whole, I think Unlimited Love was a fantastic effort.
Yeah.
A top return to form.
I thought I would have more Unlimited Love for this record.
Nice.
But sadly, it is a bit too long-winded with some filler that needed even more work or cherry-picking parts into other songs to make them stronger. I've still gone with a 7 out of 10.
Okay.
I think that's a good score for it. I don't want spoilers ahead for the next album.
I think I'd have rated it higher.
Yeah.
But that's just on a personal note. Not a lot higher. I think an 8 out of 10 max.
When
I really enjoyed it, but when you consider what comes after, it really puts into perspective how good
I think
Unlimited
what came
Love was.
after changes the score for me, because when it was released, I gave it a few days before publicly coming out with a score. I gave it an 8 at the time of release. After hearing what was on the next album and the opinion I've kind of got of these two albums as a whole and how really there were songs off both albums that if put together, I'm not afraid to say it, 9 out of 10, maybe even a 10 out of 10 album this could have been. But I think it was purposely ruined by I think to be honest, it was a bit of a marketing scheme. Because it was as soon as this album came out, it was kind of teased, wasn't it? That they were saying, we did so many good songs, we might even release another album. And it's like, no, let's be real. This has all been mapped out. It takes months to press vinyl. This was going to happen either way.
It was already in the pipeline, and it was Rick Rubin again going, do you know what? And apparently what happened was, it was Rick Rubin's idea that they had too many good songs.
Yeah.
So they decided to release another double album.
Yeah.
And
I don't agree that they had too many good songs. I agree that they had a lot of good songs.
The proof's in the pudding that they didn't have too many good songs, I think.
So, same year, couple of months apart. This was like, what was it? This was like getting into like November.
I remember this specifically because this was at the very end of a rough time, just before things started changing in my personal life. So it was October.
October
2022, and I was really looking forward to it. Sorry, I should point out that the first song was released on the 19th of August.
Yeah.
And I went camping.
Quite a bit of a time.
I went camping with my kids, and I remember listening to the one song that was released from it,
Yeah.
called "Tip of My Tongue."
Which there's good because it's the opener.
Solid song, and I listened to that the most probably that I've listened to any other song from this album, just because I hammered it for months in preparation for, oh my god, there's another belter album coming out. This is going to be amazing. Spoiler alert, I was disappointed. But yeah, it happened, and it was an album that I felt like I needed at the time massively, to like as a comfort. And it almost didn't give me that. I waited. First album I waited to, got it on vinyl on release, and I waited that evening after work, after putting the kids to bed, to listen to it, and I felt like I had to sleep on it.
Yeah.
I felt like it needed a few listens. It didn't sink in the first time, and I think you felt the same, didn't you?
Yeah.
We were left very sort of underwhelmed and confused after a first listen.
Yeah, so I think at the same time, life had changed a lot for me at this point. I'd got into a new relationship, which was great, but also at the same time, I had trouble, obviously, with previous relationships, obviously kids and, the former, partners that you've got kids to. Enough said right there as it is. So again, I think this album was I remember I had to do something that day involving that, like some kind of fucking mediation shit. And straight afterwards, I was like, right, I'm out, get off out to pick up this album now, the happy times ahead. So yeah, I think I'm just ready to just roll into this. So Tip of My Tongue, terrible, awful lyrics. But the song fucking slaps. The song slaps.
Awful
hard.
Lyrics.
Yeah.
It's got throwbacks to the
I'm not marable, nothing but a cannibal.
Funky Monks on the Run. It's a Red Hot Chili Peppers song.
Yeah, which going back actually is something that I remember John said at the start of the sessions of these albums, that he got them to go back and listen to their really early stuff. And I feel like this album, this section of songs was really like kind of like inspiration off that. And as I said at the very beginning, don't really like their early stuff.
Yeah.
Their very early stuff. So maybe that affects this album somehow. But Tip of the Tongue, great little song. Again, it's the Chili Peppers haters' dream of throwing it back at you, going like, what's this shit, mate? And you're like, the bass is good.
Yeah, but the bass is good and the guitar works funky. And it's true, but it's a Chili Peppers song. It's a bread and butter chili song.
There's a bit of a pattern going on here, I notice. So Peace and Love is a great track. I love it. I love the funk. I love the chorus. Brilliant track. Not much more to say about Peace and Love, my end.
I feel like the melody didn't do it for me. I felt like it was about a 5 out of 10, and it could have been like an 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
But it just never pushed. It was like it was almost there, but it just never pushed.
Yeah.
But it's a good song. I don't mind it. I'm not at all saying it's a bad song.
Yeah.
I just think it wasn't quite over the edge.
Personally, I really like it, and then I think there's like a bit of a common trope here with the third track being a bit of a slump. It's happened a few times now.
The third song's the worst of the first.
We had Aquatic Mouth. We've had Aquatic Mouth Dance. We've had We Turn Red, but before that it was great with Brendan's Deftones. The Deftones, So we have Reach Out, which is just whatever. Again, lazy. It just feels lazy on the vocals. It feels lazy on the songwriting.
It's a filler. It's a filler song, and it's fine.
Studio floor scraps, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's been brushed up and put onto a record.
And I felt like that was the case with Peace and Love a bit as well. It was not quite as bad as Reach Out, but it was still like this is a B-side.
Yeah. But we jump right into Eddie, and that just brings it right back up to the top of me.
Fantastic.
Right back up to the
Fantastic
top.
song.
Yeah. John Frusciante at his absolute best.
Tribute to Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah.
Spot on. Fantastic. Longest song on the album as well, I believe. Oh, no, it's not.
No.
It's the second longest.
It deserves its length, I would definitely say that.
Yeah, and it's fantastic live as well.
Fake as fuck.
Terrible.
Decent. I think it's decent. I appreciate the Liverpool shout out.
Yes.
Deliver me from Liverpool, even though that could be some fucking town in America, because there's a Manchester in America. And but I appreciate it for that. Maybe come and play here one time. Maybe that'd be nice.
I think it's there's a lovely brass section in the song, and it's again it's a fast-paced, Red Hot Chili Peppers song.
Yeah.
It's a textbook Red Hot Chili Peppers song that's a bit similar to Tip of My Tongue, but I just don't think it's as good.
No, it's decent. It's decent. Bella, I think this is a strong
song.
It's stronger on this album than Unlimited, but it's odd lyrics. Like, what is Bella, a dog? Bella, a hound? It sounds like he's singing about a dog. I don't know if it's meant to be like a love song or like a song about a woman, but like the way a lot of the lyrics, like I think like Out on the Farm sticks out to me.
Do you know what's really telling? Is that I'm looking at the track listing here, and bar the odd song or two, I'm actually struggling to really unblend all these songs together. So Bella, I remember as being one of the strongest songs on the album, in my opinion. Beautiful chorus, beautiful melody, but it's surrounded by such nothingness.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I quite like it, mate. I like the chorus of Bella cries, and that's alright.
No, sorry, Bella. The song's great, but I mean the rest of the album.
What surrounds
surrounds the songs.
And this is exactly the problem I had. Like, if you took the best out of this album, the best out of Unlimited Love, you would have 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10 album. You would have had something that really could have stood up against the greats. But what you get is you get two. Well, we're not quite finished with this, but you get two to somewhat good albums that just
take One Way Traffic out of Unlimited Love, and put Eddie in. And,
exactly.
And if you do that for a handful of songs and a handful of Dream Canteen songs, you've got a spot on 9 out of 10 album. I would say, but that's just not what happened.
Yeah, I think part of it may have been a bit of interference. Maybe a bit of a marketing scheme for me. I do really believe that it was a bit of the money, especially with how many variants of all the vinyls they brought out.
I think it went on to promote their world tour afterwards, because as it stands, bear in mind this is 2 years on now, they are still touring. This Unlimited Love and Dream Canteen, but it's still the same merchandise. I'm seeing the Unlimited Love t-shirt that they were selling the other day in China. Like, it's insane that it's the same tour 2 years on, and they've not had a break, really, not a proper break.
No. Which makes me worry about John Frusciante yet again, because I worry that he'll get burnt out.
Yeah, same.
So Roulette, and I've said, okay, this album falls off a cliff now, and we enter a very mid era of tracks.
It's the side C. Side C's. It's not side C. No, we're not. But we're getting close, and it's very close to falling, man.
It's coming in early. It arrived early.
It arrives a lot earlier on this album.
Roulette, don't have anything to say.
It could not be there.
No,
and I'd be okay with that.
My cigarette is utter garbage. Just nonsense.
The only thing...
My cigarette.
The only thing I like about my cigarette is John Frusciante's electronic inspiration and the electronic drums in it.
Yeah.
And
I think that's done better later on, though.
So do I, but My Cigarette is an experimental song that is the most obvious B-side.
It is a B-side.
I've ever heard. The chorus is just Anthony Kiedis going... My cigarette.
Again, more terrible performance from Kiedis. Call me Michael. Whatever the fuck he's saying.
That song, I've no idea how they got away with releasing that.
No.
How that got through anyone, and people said, oh, this is a really good idea to put this on the album. Rick Rubin, you're drunk, man. No idea how that.
It goes back to what I said with Slipknot. Apparently, he spent all time asleep on the couch.
He probably just didn't look at that one and missed it out and didn't realise. But
I think he saw. I think he saw the dollar signs in his. The dollar signs were in his eyes, and he thought, well,
Chili Peppers fans will still buy it, and we did.
I think the Chili's do put out a lot. And sometimes quality is better than quantity.
Yeah, definitely in case of this album.
Afterlife, it's a bit of a comeback, but not enough to get the album perked up.
This is side C now.
Yeah.
And this is side C starting as strong as this album can start. Afterlife isn't a bad song, but what is it, John? It's a fucking B-side.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah.
It's another B-side that shouldn't really be on a full studio release album.
No.
And that's exactly what this song is. It's fine.
I keep laughing because I wrote this on my notes. The next song is called Shoot Me a Rope of Cum. Shoot me a...
Shoot me a smile. I wish the least that song can do is give us a smile, and that statement has given me more of a smile than that song ever has.
I just put mid.
I can't even remember, and I listened to it the other day. I can't remember anything about that song other than that it's just a nothing song. Honestly, now it's one of the shortest songs on the album, and I wish it was the shortest at 1 second long.
I can't even remember how it goes. I listened to this very recently. Is that the one? Yeah, shoot me a smile.
Oh my word, it is, yeah. Right, so there you go. Is that not the perfect example? Me and you, who both listened to this album, like within the last few days, we both have forgot how that song goes.
Yeah.
A nothing song.
And then the chorus is like something like that.
It should never have been released. It should never have got greenlit for a studio album.
No.
Ever.
Oh yeah, that was Shoot Me a Rope of Cum.
That's Shoot Me a Rope of Cum. The next song, Handful.
Handful, one of my least favourite tracks on the album. I never enjoyed this. I'm trying to listen.
How did this pass? How did this pass?
This is possibly the worst side C I've ever heard, and we've gone through some kind of poor side C's here. Is this a choice? But this is what I hate, because like if I think of like the greatest albums of all time, all killer, no filler, everything's done so purposely. This could have still been put on 2 discs. I know you like the money, Warner Brothers. I know you like the money.
They love
guys.
The money, John.
You still could have stretched this out into 2 discs and put it at the price cost you did.
Yeah.
You didn't have to put Shoot Me a Smile or Handful on this album. They will never be played live. Well, I might eat my words here because they may have been played live, but I seriously doubt after this tour is done, if there's a new album, new tour, most of these songs will be lost to history, similar to like the Josh era, and we will never hear the light of day. Because the Chili's are not a band for being too creative with the set list, unfortunately. It's very greatest hits and the latest album at the time, isn't it?
So if you want a bit of hindsight into how this album's done, Unlimited Love is still going full price at my new favourite record store in Liverpool, Rough Trade. Fantastic record store. Unlimited Love is going at full price at that. I went in last week and I had a little look to see if they had Dream Canteen. They do have Dream Canteen. It is now, I saw it listed at £20.
£20?
It is plummeted, and I am not shocked.
Let me just quickly put it in Amazon and see what it's come up of. Return of the Dream.
Return of the Dream Canteen. Was
it coloured as well, or
no? Just I believe just the regular copy.
Yeah, so on Amazon you can get it for as low as £20.
Yeah, that was what Rough Trade had. It has
pricey if it's the gatefold. Something we completely forgot. This is more for vinyl, Ned. Gatefolds. Why were the gatefolds classed as limited editions? Why wasn't the standard
just the gatefold?
Just the gatefold.
I don't know. But we've got the gatefolds, and the album art. I have to say, on Dream Canteen, I really like.
I haven't put a gatefold on either of them.
Have you not?
No, mine are just coloured.
Oh, I've got the black vinyl for Dream Canteen.
Oh, right, okay.
But it's a gatefold.
Yeah.
And the album art on Dream Canteen is delightful.
Anyway, again, this is what makes me think that this was all a bit of a marketing gimmick. Just release too much too pricey.
It's the gatefold.
No.
Did not know that.
Not a gatefold.
Unlimited Love, I haven't got a gatefold.
This is purely for vinyl. It's like anyone who listens to this on Spotify is just going to be like, why you'd ask?
For those that don't know, a gatefold is a vinyl that opens like a book.
Yeah.
And a regular is just a slip.
Which is fine when it's fine when it's 1 disc, but when it's 2 discs and they're clumped in together, it's very
cheap and lazy.
Yeah. So we're getting to the drummer.
Personal favourite song off this album.
Don't get the hype around it.
It's the shortest song on the album. Leaves me wanting more. The solos on it are beautiful, and they get better as it goes on, and the choruses come to a bit of a crescendo. So they build up with each. There's 3 choruses. By the 3rd one, there's a lot going on with the guitar, and it's beautiful. It's the guitars playing the melody that Arcadium is singing. I think it's a really good song.
I think it's quite nice. I like Frusciante's backing vocals, the harmonies, and of course it's okay, but it's not enough to save it from what it's become at this
Not
point.
at all. I think the drummer should have been on
become,
Unlimited Love.
Yeah, from what it's become now, it's just like there's no real saving this, to be honest.
By this point, it's fallen off a cliff.
Yeah,
so bad
yeah.
that there's only. So we are 12 songs in, and how many songs? 12 songs in, just up to the drummer.
Yeah.
How many songs would you say are releasable? Releasable on a studio album level.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Would you say half
of them? And that's being generous, to be honest. That is being generous.
My take on it.
There's two that really. Yeah. That's a generous.
I would say generously from my end 4 songs.
Yeah,
4 songs out of 12 that you think are anywhere near acceptable to be releasing.
Yeah, let me guess. Tip of my tongue, Peace and Love, Eddie, and Fake as Fuck.
No, Tip of my tongue, Eddie, Bella, and Drummer. Are the only 4 that I think will pass. But again, I've seen lots of lists online of people listing what they think's their favourite song off this album, and the only consistent ones I see is Eddie. Eddie's pretty much up there constantly.
There always is a new album hype, isn't there? The latest is the greatest. I've seen many people have that philosophy. Bag of Grins is filler.
It's a B-side. It's a very at this point, like John said, you're begging for the album to finish. You're tired. You're done. It's an exhausting album. It's a 75-minute album. It's just as long or there enough as Unlimited Love, but the fatigue.
The dream Canteen is like when you've had sex too many times in a night and you're getting tired and you want to stop. But they're ready for round 4.
There it goes.
And you're like, this isn't going to be as enjoyable as the first couple of rounds. Like, I haven't got it in me. I'm tired now. I want to go to sleep.
Fatigue.
Like,
Fatigue. It gets the best of everyone. But by this point, you just think, it's time to go to bed.
This is the time in the house party.
Get some sleep.
Yeah. This is the time in the house party where everyone's crashed and you're the last one up in the kitchen with a glass of water, looking around at all the chaos, and you're like, yeah, this is petered out now.
And really, you should be singing just like Josh. Take me home, take me home. Yeah.
Yes, I know. I wish I was listening to that instead of la 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 la.
Yep.
Again, bad.
Nothing song.
Horrible lyrics. Happy Meals for 2.
It just shouldn't exist.
Sticks in my head forever. That's forever ingrained on my brain. Happy Meals sharing Happy Meals for 2.
So at this point, again, it's the tone's been taken down, and a lot of the songs I am feeling are forgettable.
Yeah.
It all blends into one big mush. There's only one song left that I can comfortably say, I know what it sounds like, and enjoy.
Yeah. So after that, we get Copper Belly, and I quite like it.
Good on you. I'm happy that you enjoy it. I can take that. I don't particularly enjoy it. I would rather skip it.
Well, then we get into an absolute
it's a B-side.
Great track after that, though, Carry Me Home. I really love that track.
It's finishing on a bit more of a high, but by this
would have been a good close.
By this point, in my opinion, the fatigue is well and truly set in.
Yeah,
I'm just
fed up at this point.
I am fed up with this album.
If you come on individually on a shuffle, you can get more out of them, I'd say. But at this point, you've been through a lot. You've been put through the ringer, I'd say.
The Chili Peppers and their record company Warner have basically lied to us by this point, haven't they?
Yeah.
By saying that this is a double album. They've released another album because by this point, the reality of this is just a B-side album has really hit you.
Oh, yeah. We end with In the Snow. I would have liked this song, but the spoken word poetry ruins it. Now, it's not the first time this has been done. Death of a Martian. Even in that, it's bordering a bit like, but I quite like it in Death of a Martian. I don't like it in this one.
No. I'm
in for 2 and I'm
again. I really enjoyed John Frusciante's very blatant use of an 808 drum set. I
really like all that.
I can hear the cowbell and the chimes and the electronic sounds are beautiful, and it's unique to a Chili Peppers song.
Frusciante,
the fact that it's called In the Snow is almost again another throwback to the song Snow that they did. Beautiful chorus with John singing the chorus again. Beautiful song. Only thing that wrecks it is exactly what you've said. Spoken word chorus at the end, which is just nonsense. Nonsense. It's nonsense.
Fligging in the diggity.
Fligging in the biggity boo.
And the little effects on it.
It's not needed.
No.
It's not needed. And then you finish it, and if you're anything like me and John, you finish that album and you go, okay, now where's the rest of it? Or you go, wow, I need to listen to that again because there's something that I didn't get.
Yeah, that was me on first listen.
And I said, there's something that I didn't quite get. It's going to be a grower. And I believe we use that term constantly for it.
Yeah.
For a few days, we were like, it's going to grow. It's going to grow on us. And then about 2-3 weeks later, the reality hit us that, do you know what? We've listened to this album well into double figures.
We've been duped.
And we have been had off.
I remember doing like a kind of live reaction to it to you on Snapchat because you hadn't heard it yet, had you? And I remember like going, oh, yeah, tip me tongue here. We go, oh, this one's, wait, look out for this one, this one. And then slowly I'm a bit like, I don't want to like worry you, but this album's kind of bad.
Yeah. This album is not Unlimited Love.
No.
This album was never Unlimited Love. And it was sold, and it still is sold as another studio album. But in my opinion, and I think to the opinion of most people that have heard it, and most Chili Peppers fans, it's glorified B-sides.
Yeah.
We're picking it out the bin, and we're releasing it because people will buy it.
Yeah.
And we bought it.
Yeah, yeah.
And we were mugged, and I'd still have it as part of the collection. It's a Chili Peppers album. I enjoy some of it, but I would say, a quarter of that album at best. About a quarter, which is not acceptable.
I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10.
It's not acceptable to enjoy a quarter of an album.
So I'm with you. From me, got a 7. Getaway got a 6. Unlimited Love got a 7. Dream Canteen got a 5. So in a way, this makes the Josh era a winner.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Is that a little bit of karma coming back at them for sacking him almost unceremoniously and unfairly?
Maybe, because as I say, at the end of the day, albums are albums. Most of the time, they come out and you might pick up a CD in the shop for your dad for Christmas. You can take a couple, I think every album from the Chili Peppers, you can take as many songs as you want from it and leave as many as you want. I don't think that makes that much of a difference in their legacy or their career. Because when you see them live, I don't think you're going to hear Shoot Me a Smile. I don't think you're going to hear In the Snow. It'll just become forgotten knowledge to the casual listener. That I went to see him in 2022. Me and you both did. I was blown away.
They were fantastic.
Fantastic. Great hearing Frusciante. I got to hear Hey live, Californication, all the hits.
We got to see John Frusciante live, play the hits.
John Frusciante live. And I think at the end of the day, that kind of all that matters is, you're going to get a good time on the tour. The songs that they're going to play on the tour are the strongest off them albums. There's something that if it didn't, like, I feel like I'm glad that Eddie's exists.
Absolutely. Eddie is a great song. So out of Dream Canteen, now the Chili's, this is the official set list from when they played the Tokyo Dome in Japan 5 days ago. The only songs from their latest album, out of 17 songs that they played 2 songs from Dream Canteen. Eddie and Reach Out.
Yeah, I don't know why Reach Out got to play.
Neither do I. I understand why Eddie gets to play.
Yeah.
But if that doesn't say it all, I don't know what does.
No.
And you've got songs here, like there's Danny California, Snow, Hard to Concentrate.
Oh,
from Stadium Arcadium. And like they're still blasting those out. Around the World, I Like That, Parallel Universe, Californication, all of those songs, 4 songs there from Californication, which was from, 1998? 99, sorry. And the latest album's getting 2 songs.
Yeah.
That was released just over a year and a half ago.
There must be a level of self-awareness. Some bands, they go on tour and they really heavily push new albums, and that can be really off-putting for some people, especially when the new albums don't live up to expectations and aren't as great. Again, it's all an artist's choice at the end of the day. But, they're coming to wrap this all up in a bow, because at the end of the day, this episode is the Josh era episode.
And it's been nice that we've been able to compare it to the Josh era.
I think it was a very good era. For the most part, again, the Getaway wasn't great, but I think as one of the Reddit comments said, I didn't even know if I read this one out. This is late stage Chili Peppers. This is past peak, past prime Chili Peppers. And at the end of the day, if you're still getting music with this level of quality, this good, from a band that has been going for going 40 years now. You're doing something right. There's bands that are still going to this day, and you look at them and you're like, dig, for the love of God, stop, retire, leave your legacy in a good place. Don't run this to the ground.
It going.
The Chili's are still phenomenal live band, and I know people have criticisms about them live and stuff like that, but that's more just mainly of interactions with the crowd and stuff. I'm not that bothered as long as they just fucking play the songs the way they fucking play them, and the improv is brilliant, and you'd always sort of getting something different every time. I am more than happy. I think Josh did a cracking job. I think he did a good job live. I think he did get shafted a bit at the end of the day.
Boy got done dirty, man,
but he came into a band. There was such a history. It was always going to be the way. I think
these are the ways.
These are the ways when you're part of the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
I think it has to be seen subjectively that, like you said, Dave, very right, in that this is a band at the later stage of the career now. They're great. Their greatest days are behind them. That's pretty certain. Their greatest days are behind them. And the Josh era, I'm really glad it happened. I'm glad it projected Josh to the mainstream. But it's almost like given context. So at the time of the Josh era, we were just happy to have Red Hot Chili Peppers release albums. We were just happy for them to produce music, to still keep touring. We went to see the I'm With You tour. We went to see the Getaway tour.
Yeah, I saw the I'm With You tour twice.
And it was great. But then you look back at it and you go, do you know what? Compared to now having John Frusciante back, and how good Unlimited Love was compared to the Getaway, it puts a perspective on it, doesn't it? And go, wow, we thought we had it good then. Were we fooling ourselves? No, I still think it was good, but it was just we were managing with the only version of the Red Hot Chili Peppers that we had at the time. It was the only version we had, so we had to be happy with it, because it's still better than not having them at all. I would rather have the Red Hot Chili Peppers with Josh Klinghoffer as their guitarist than have the Red Hot Chili Peppers split up and not play music.
I could probably say this much, and I think I'll probably leave it here on my opinions, that if the Chili Peppers broke up in 2009 and came back in 2022 and released Unlimited Love, I'd probably be a lot more critical of Unlimited Love, because you'd be comparing it to Stadium Arcadium. I think I would be a lot more critical of it because there was a longer wait. You really would have been expecting something a lot more special.
It's really leaving you wanting more, isn't it?
Yeah. I think the Josh era kept it going, and there's a sadness to it at the end of the day, because we will probably never hear them songs performed live ever again.
John's notorious for not playing songs that he's written.
They're difficult to come across in record stores. The albums, obviously, with streaming, they're always going to be there, aren't they? Well, you know so.
I was very lucky to come across I'm With You and the Getaway and buy them after, years after they were released.
Yeah.
But it's few and far between.
It is. It's quite hard to find one hot minute as well. This has been the longest podcast
ever
I've done ever in the
history.
world. This is Joe Rogan levels now. We are.
No one wants that.
I think we're going to wrap this up before we hit 3 hours.
Amazing.
Thanks for coming.
It's been deep, but it's been really good, and it's a topic that we can both talk for so much in depth on. We've still got lots of Chili Pepper stuff to cover as well.
This is just
Frusciante's solo stuff, or earlier Chili's. We've covered about 10 years.
Yeah, we've took a nice bucket water out as well. There's plenty more left in.
Yeah.
But we will leave it there. So thanks for listening. Please follow the podcast on Spotify so you don't miss future episodes. Please find us on social media, YouTube for shorter clips. Thanks for listening.
I've got peace and love for you right now.
Thanks for coming on, Tom.
Peace
I look forward to having you on again. I think next time we're going to tap into more of a broader topic again, get back into our kind of more wider range, more than specific things, aren't we?
Yeah, and I'm more than happy to do it, so thank you for having me.
Thanks for being with us. You can now get away.
Inside your car.